welcome to Hold Up, a movie podcast. Last time we hacked the planet and did a little techno hop. Tonight, we are tickled pink to make a couple of Euro stops. But this is no vacation. Something is surely afoot. So steal away with us before we're out of sight. Because we are real Berlin guys. I am your host. Really so good. I am your host, Davan Skelhorn, and with me, as always, is Chris Worldmind Murphy. How you doing, Murphy?
Guten Tag, Eisen, das und shit. Sehr gut. Ein sehr gut. Shit, I really should practice that German a little better. I'm doing good.
I know Scheisse and Dankeschön. And Wasser? I know a little bit of German. I
learned a
can sing,
handful.
well, no, I guess I gotta be looking at it, but I can sort of sing, Ode to Joy, which is in German. And with us, as always, not as always, for the first time. Anyway, don't mind me. I'm a little flustered tonight.
Officially.
Jaemeel Robinson.
Salutation, fine folks. It's finally nice to be on the main show. Hold up, instead of being in the background, just kind of chirping away. So it's my turn to get some licks in and also to get my own.
Yeah. Oh man, there's gonna be some licking going on here. I'll tell you that. I'm glad you joined us, Jaemeel. You're like this hyperbolic host's greatest supporter when it comes to podcasts. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of this. This is great.
When I shine, you shine. When you shine, I shine. We're just shining each other up.
It's true, Sam. That is Jaemeel Robinson.
Hold up, is that? Yes, it certainly is. This is season 1, episode 13 of Hold Up.
Number 13.
Where we will be discussing heist movies. And I take back what I said to you earlier, Murphy. It was mostly a robbery, your movie, but the other guy planned it out a bit, so I guess I'll call it a heist. But mostly a robbery.
I got something to say about that, actually. I wrote a little something. Let me just pull that up, but you continue, and I'll bring this up.
Yes, I will continue, because we have a regular segment here on Hold Up, a Movie Podcast. Semi-regular segment. Origin Stories. Jaemeel, what's with you in movies?
It's been something that has been like a part of my growth, how I connected with my parents. My dad was heavily into westerns and Shaw Brother martial arts films. My parents would regularly take me out to the movies, so I have many examples of going into movies that were not appropriate for me at my age. And it continued. My love of movies has continued on for years to come. I'm the type of person I'll go to the movies by myself because the community aspect, the big screen, the feel, the sticky floors, the overpriced food, the booming sound. It's going to church. Movies is a theater's a cathedral to me. I love movies.
Beautifully said. Beautifully.
The only umbrage I'll take with you there, I could do without the sticky floors. Got to be honest.
It's part of the experience, unfortunately.
It is part of it.
I'm like, oh no, that's gonna be following me out of the theater? Like, if it's just on my shoe in the theater, fine, but I don't want it on my shoe when I leave, you know?
The unfortunate part is people do not treat it as a cathedral as I. So, they'll leave their popcorn and stuff. I'm the type of person that'll take all of my eateries items and throw them in the garbage, dispose of them appropriately.
Like a gentleman.
Yes.
No, I definitely agree with the cathedral element of what you're saying. Now, I've been accused of being a bit nostalgic and perhaps living in the past. So I'll say for me that feeling's faded a bit with theaters. Like, a lot of my great memories as a kid, like, theaters looked different, they felt different back then, and like I'm a bit nostalgic for that. Like, you'd go to the theater, there was one screen, and whatever they were playing, that's what you were watching for like an entire week or two, and then maybe you get a new movie. I remember one summer they played Black Beauty, that horse movie, for like 3 months straight and didn't change the movie.
How many times did you end up seeing it?
None. I was just like, no, I won't see Black
You
Beauty.
refused? Have you ever seen Black
Yes.
Beauty before?
No, I've refused.
That could have been your favorite movie, and you
Yeah.
missed out 3 months of experiencing it.
I
It's
guess
true. I
when we
like
do
horses. My dad
Equestrian,
owned
we're gonna
horses.
have to see if it holds up.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll do
Um,
horse movies.
I love rep theaters, and I still go to them whenever I get a chance
Mm.
to. Whenever I travel to a new city, I try to check out what the rep theaters are playing, because there's something special about seeing even just a new movie, classic movie in those type of theaters. The experience, it feels different. The chairs, people who attend those type of theaters have a certain reverence of the movie going
Oh yeah,
experience. So,
agreed.
folks, if you take one bit of advice from me today, outside of, I'll have a little tidbits later on, but go to a rep theater, support them. We need more of them. Their multiplexes will always be there. Rep theaters, that's what you need to support.
We had a great one on Quinpool Road here in Halifax, and it shut down, unfortunately. I'm
Oh
sure you've been
no.
there more than once, Murphy.
Yes, the Quinpool Road Theater. That's where they actually had the premiere of Hobo with a Shotgun. It was right around the corner from where I lived on Oxford at the time. Um,
It was
so
called the
like
Oxford.
it was called the Oxford Theater, actually. Yeah. And there was one around here in Toronto, just near High Park, called the Humber Cinema, and that
Yep.
was hands down my favorite around here. And they eventually got shut down. Fingers crossed they might reopen after the big condo reconstruction of 3055 or whatever. But like,
Uh,
I'm
no
not gonna hold my
inappropriate hand
breath.
gestures. Sorry, I won't do it. I was
Whoa,
gonna
whoa.
do something. um,
And yeah, go ahead.
um, yeah, um, we've lost way too many rep
Yeah.
theaters in Toronto already. Um, I will always tell people go to the review because it's
Yep.
awesome. The programmer there is awesome. So Serena, shouts out to you. I miss Bloor Cinema, how Bloor Cinema used to be. I know it's now the Hot Docs
Mm.
Cinema, but I remember just garbage movies being shown, throughout the week, and then anime on the weekends, like old classic '80s, like Macross, Do You Believe in Love, uh, you know, episodes of anime being shown, random, programming that they would have commercials. It was a great experience. The only thing I can get near to me right now, unfortunately, is a drive-in, which is still a bit of a drive, but you take what you can get.
Truth. Yeah, no, I love
Sure,
that.
for sure.
I miss the Humber. I miss that sort of finding a genuine, unique theater vibe. Going to Cineplex is okay; it does the trick, but it feels very I don't know.
I don't want to say
It doesn't even
sanitized
feel so
because it's
sanitized.
not
Sanitized is
No,
perfect, yeah. But
it
the worst
it
thing, it's
fits right
not.
in.
Okay, small quote here.
It fits right in with my thesis for this podcast. Some things were better when there was still whimsy in the world. Now everything's just a little bland and a little generic and a little
True,
too glossy.
yeah.
and
Like,
you're right,
I
Jaemeel.
need
It's
the
not
dirt. Give me the dirt.
Cineplex is not sanitized. I mean, in presentation it is, but behind doors, not
Oh,
so
no, no,
much.
no,
I've worked
no,
there.
no.
There's the. This is what I like to quote. One time I was in this sort of like above rafter thing. You don't even know it's there because they disguise it so well from the ground floor. But there's actually like a second floor in most theaters. Um,
Yeah, the balcony seating. Yeah, man.
Anyway, and you look down over the popcorn where they're serving all the like the food and stuff, and the floor behind that register is just covered in popcorn
Oh,
to the
oh yeah.
degree that it's like an ocean and the floor itself is little islands.
I watch them scooping it, and half of it's going on the floor. There's a
Yeah. I've
oh
dealt with
man.
popcorn before. It's not fun.
No, no,
It's not fun.
but
This is one of the
delicious.
jobs I avoided. I just
Yes.
managed to clean bathrooms, and then they were like, "We want to put you on popcorn," and I'm like, "I don't know about that." And then the next day, they're like, Did you write your username on a towel shelf, like a paper towel shelf, with Bic pen?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's graffiti." we have to let you go. And I'm like, you mean you don't want me to like clean it with rubbing? All right, that's fine. And I fucking took the L.
The next guy has to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't though, and he left it. Now everyone's coming after World Mine Murphy
That's
at
true.
whatever.com.
They knew me at that cinema. I forever am
You-
infamous at the.
Before we move
Sure.
on, little quick shout out to my childhood and the Imperial Theater in Windsor, Nova Scotia.
Ooh.
Except for the one time they kicked me out for trying to sneak in a pop. When you actually couldn't take your own food into a theater.
For
You're
me, it was
still
for
not
me, it was
supposed to,
the-
but
Oh, they
it
don't
wasn't
stop you
the
no more. They don't know if you bought that water from them or from someone else. Like, they don't know.
for me the childhood cinema in Nova Scotia was Bedford, the Bedford Cinema.
Yeah. Yep.
I got to see like Jurassic Park. No, did I? No, it wasn't Jurassic Park. I see Insurrection Day there, Pokemon.
You mean
like,
Independence
pretty
Day?
Yeah, Independence Day. I don't know why
Insurrection
I said
Day. I'm like, is that a Star Trek movie I missed?
Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately. Yeah. Anyway, but I did see Insurrection there too. Actually, now that you think about it, and Generations.
go.
I saw a lot of movies at that theater.
so young.
Uh,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Hey, Jurassic Park was a formative movie moment for me at the theater too. Amazing.
I didn't
Blew
I
my
didn't
mind.
think I saw it in theaters, but I did see it like on tape, and I was still young enough, and I remember being terrified by the T-Rex and hiding behind my grandfather's reclining chair and him just
Oh, man,
laughing
I
his
was-
ass off at me.
I was afraid of stainless steel kitchens for at least a year.
Ooh.
But anyway, let's see what's going on in Theater 1, shall we? In Theater 1, we have my pick of this evening. Sorry about that, fellas. The Pink Panther from 1963, starring Peter Sellers, David Niven, Capuchin, not the monkey, the person apparently, Claudia Cardinal, and Robert Wagner, who I didn't even recognize, but now that I'm thinking about it, I know who he played, but man, I didn't even recognize him. And directed by Blake Edwards. So, why don't you hit the trailer for us there, Murphy?
I will hit that trailer, but just to interject about the heists and
Yep.
the robberies, just so we're clear.
All right.
Okay,
Bring out the
because
Oxford definition of heist and robbery.
sort of, more or less. Heists and robberies are not exactly the same thing, although they both are crimes that involve stealing property or money. A robbery is a type of theft where someone takes something by force or by threat of force. This can include using weapons, physical violence, or intimidation to take something from a person or business. For example, bank
Oh,
robbery.
so your and Jameel's picks were both robberies. Is that the
I
point you're
disagree.
trying to make?
I disagree.
Oh, I see where he's coming from. I thought that
Will you let-
myself.
Jesus
I picked a
Christ,
heist.
Evan. Jesus Christ, Evan. Can you let me finish speaking for 5
Did I get it?
seconds?
Did I get
didn't
it?
even
Did I
get
guess
a
it right?
full sentence out. No,
But did
you're
I guess
jumping
it?
ahead. No.
I was guessing. It's
You're
fun.
not, what do you, well, there's nothing to guess. There's nothing to guess. I was just trying to make an explanation between robbery and heist, and you can't even fucking let
Oh.
me do that before interjecting.
I was backing
before
you
I've
up.
done the first
I thought you were
sentence.
going to accuse Jaemeel of the same thing I accused
I'm
you
not
of. but I was
accusing
had your
anybody
back,
of
Murphy.
anything.
But now I withdraw my backing of you. Continue.
This is what I deal with. This is what I deal with
Nope.
every time.
Withdrawn. Oh, he knows what you deal with. He's listened to every episode.
A bank robbery involves stealing money from a bank using force or threat of force. A heist, on the other hand, is a type of robbery that involves a complex and well-planned operation to steal something valuable, such as a large sum of money or a valuable artwork. Heists often involve a group of people working together to plan and execute the theft, using careful planning, sophisticated tools, and tactics, sometimes even disguises or elaborate schemes to avoid detection. Heists are often portrayed in popular culture, such as in movies like Ocean's 11. So all heists are robberies, not all robberies are heists.
Agreed. So my movie was a heist. Both of your movies were robberies.
I disagree, but we'll get to it.
We'll get to it when we get there.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue the fact that my movie was probably a robbery.
Well, yours was legit a bank robbery. They call them bank robberies.
Yeah, but I mean, that being said,
yeah.
it was.
But whatever.
It is what
I
it is,
liked
and
it.
we'll
So we'll
dissect
get
it.
there.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to the snorefest that is the Pink Panther. Let us crack open
Agreed.
our memories.
Agreed.
And we're
One
not
sec.
watching
I want to know what Jaemeel was counting.
I was so just to clarify, folks, the argument was that Davan cuts off Worldmine every 5 seconds, and I clearly showed 5 seconds. We'll check it on YouTube, where Worldmine was able to speak without interruption. Just stating the facts.
Vindicators. Vindicators 2.
Good Lord.
All right.
We need to get a clip of buddy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine saying vindication. Anyway, let's get all right. Just to clarify, we're not going to watch that 4-minute episodic.
Please.
Surprise, motherfucker.
No, we're watching
That's the only
this
clip I had for you.
A master thief. A priceless treasure. And an international mystery only one man can solve.
We must find that woman.
The one. The only. Inspector Clouseau.
Let me kiss your face. You will be witness to the capture of the notorious felon.
Peter Sellers. In the role that launched a comic legend.
What are you suggesting? It's been a night of surprises.
Take your filthy hands off my ass.
The Pink Panther.
Man,
So
that
let me just
definitely
open
was-
here. Since it was my pick, I should probably defend it somewhat. So here's the thing: Peter Sellers, I still enjoyed in this movie. He definitely carried the whole thing. Like the story was boring, most of the interactions between characters were boring, but whenever he tripped over something, I still laughed. And let me tell you, that's one of the few instances I've seen in a movie, at least in a very long time, that did slapstick properly. Like John Belushi or Chris Farley tripping over something isn't funny because they're already these wacky, outrageous characters, right? But Peter Sellers is trying to play this kind of straight, very serious sort of cop character. So like when he trips over something, they show his face.
You
he's,
trying
like,
to say
actually,
John
like,
Belushi and
embarrassed.
Chris Farley aren't funny when they're being
No,
slashed? I just
no,
no, you
yeah,
no, you take
no, yeah,
no,
kind of.
no,
I am,
no.
yeah. Chris Farley doesn't make me laugh when he's falling over.
Chris
Like,
Farley's
I
made me
I-
laugh doing any of his slapstick more than Peter
I-
Sellers did in this
I think
movie.
the argument here is, from Davin's point of view, is the action itself isn't funny. It takes a combination of things for the slapstick to be funny in a Chris Farley situation, where in this case, Peter Sellers' performance in a bubble is funny because he's a straight man doing slapstick.
yes,
Well, I mean,
that's
Do you
exactly what
find
I'm
that more fair assessment?
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, that's a fair assessment. I mean, but the thing too is the entirety of his humor was within that trailer that we witnessed. The entirety of pretty much all the Peter
Oh,
Sellers.
yeah, it was
just
scenes,
more
anything
and
that
more
wasn't
of that.
dialogue.
I think there was
Well,
a
no,
lot
my
of
scene was
wordplay. There's wordplay as well that I think was pretty clever as well for Peter Sellers.
Well, it mentioned in the trailer that it's the role that made him a comedy star, and I can see that. That's a good start to a comedy career. He was definitely the star of this movie and what carried it. And of course, he god tier comedy he does in Doctor Strangelove. So, you know, god
Which
tier.
low key is the basis
So-
of why you pick this.
Yeah.
Yes. I wanted to
Yep.
see more Peter Sellers, and so I was a bit let down by this because I was expecting like Doctor Strangelove, but like I shouldn't have had such
Well, the
high
truth is, you should have
expectations.
picked. You did a Gremlins again. Is basically what happens. You picked the
If
first.
you
film,
besmirch
which
Gremlins
wasn't
again
as-
tonight, Murphy, we're
and-
done here.
and
We
the
are done
second
here.
Film, you should have went with was like the Return of the Pink Panther, because after this film, Peter
Is it
Sellers
better?
became. Well, it's not. I don't know if it's better, but there's like the main
So
character.
why
of
would
the
you make
film
that
is Peter
statement?
Sellers.
You straight up made that a
Confused
statement.
too. I'm glad it's not just me.
Well, from what I remember as a kid, because I barely remember this franchise, it was the later Pink Panther films, not this first one, that I enjoyed more because they were a
Steve
little more
Martin.
funnier. No, not
Wasn't
Steve
it?
Martin.
No.
There was the whole franchise of Pink Panther films. That
Oh, yeah,
came
there
out
was.
after this,
Yeah.
right? And the sequels, the first 2 or 3 sequels, I think, probably just the second and third, I guess, had Peter Sellers in it, and they were considered to be a little more funnier than this film.
Well, because he was the
well,
focus, as opposed to
Yeah,
he was a side character. He Urkeled himself into a franchise.
I'd like to feature on this show at some point. I don't know what theme it would fall into, but that movie that got him the casting in Doctor Strange, where he apparently plays like 7 or 11 roles or something like that. And apparently that was quite good, so
Mhm.
I'd be interested to see. Great character actor though. But
Yeah.
anyway, Clouseau, he was okay. The music is what carries this movie. It's what kept me in. The Henry Mancini jazz just was great. That was the highlight for me.
I
Now,
felt like they only had 2 songs. I mean,
Oh,
there was,
they had multiple ones.
they had, yeah, but it really, the only 2 seemed to stand out in my memory, which was like the Pink Panther one and the musical number. And they played that once, not just like, as she's performing, but they also played the song again in the costume party in the later half of the film. So,
Can't wait till
yeah,
the morsels part.
well, let's get through the bits here, or not so much the bits. The plot of Pink Panther 1963, where we start off with a Once Upon a Time. In the 1963 film Pink Panther, directed by Blake Edwards, the largest diamond in the world, the Pink Panther is given as a gift to Princess Dala, Claudia Cardinal, by her father, the Shah of Lugasha.
that's not Claudia Cardinal.
No, this is the young child version of her as a young woman, but rebels seize power in Lugash and demand the jewel back, which is touched upon in sort of a news article later on. The film then follows the antics of the mysterious British jewel thief known as the Phantom, Sir Charles Linton David Niven, who is also a playboy, and his American nephew, George Robert Wagner.
All right, I got to cut you off right there. Why in the 60s and before could men not be considered a sex symbol until they were 65? Like, these characters are grating on me a bit, where they're like they always have these like young 20-something women, and they're always fawning over these right old dudes. And there's like, I don't know, it kind of bothers me a
It's
little.
old Hollywood. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a whole we're the silver age of Hollywood. We own Hollywood, so we still have budding careers. Let's make out with all these young actresses and stuff.
Yeah.
No, like he's
Suave,
this young playboy. He's
sophisticated.
got like 10 women all over Europe, and it's just like he's like 65 and walks with a cane. It's just like what? Anyway, yeah. I mean, the cane, I think they say, is some sort of injury.
Yeah, he's faking an injury.
Skiing. Yeah, from skiing or something. Right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the clumsy French police inspector Jacques Clouseau, played by Peter Sellers of the Surete, who is unaware that his wife Simone Capuchon, is she just called Capuchon? Did she not have a first and last name? I don't
know it. I just saw Capuchin. I'm pretty sure it's called Capuchin because it's spelled like the monkey. Capuchin.
Maybe. His wife Simone. She's the paramour of Sir Charles, and helps him with his crimes and tries to stop the theft attempts. But, it's comedically inept. In addition to his bumbling attempts to catch the thief, there are scenes of the skiing resort hotel that show Madame Clouseau dodging her husband while trying to carry out Sir Charles' plan and avoid George, who's enamored of her.
Angel.
Just...
Yes, my angel.
The pacing of this film, I found to be very long.
And it just jumps from location to location and from character to character, like without really much connective tissue. I find, like, for the first half of the movie, I was very confused about what was even happening.
Okay, I was like, how did Princess Dala get the? How did she get the Pink Panther? Did she steal it from the Indian girl? Because I was
she is the Indian girl.
I know. I later realized that.
But you're like, exactly. Like, why is she white now? Yeah, I had the same question.
It was, and then I realized who was the director, and I'm like, oh, he has a tendency.
Well, then you see this guy who they painted brown. Like that was the worst. Like, look at him.
Did he eventually play a Klingon on Star Trek? Because it's
oh my god, that's Klingon makeup for sure.
So yeah, there's this whole scene where I forget his name already. The Panther, Sir Charles Linton,
Clouseau.
has
So
yeah,
Linton.
no, not Clouseau, but
Linton.
Charles Linton. He runs a whole scheme to steal this woman's dog, so he can get closer to her, and he like apparently hurts his leg, quote unquote, and that's when Clouseau enters the scene.
All solid. It's just like, oh, that was Sir Lytton. Then I
Yeah,
just
that's
fell
sort
onto.
of like. So yeah, this is where you start to find out they're like next door neighbors in a hotel, and there's this whole like back and forth that proceeds to go on for like the next 40 minutes of
God,
just
that
like
guy's distracting.
circle play of
The painted guy, man. He just like
It-
distracted me so much every time. He
this movie was such dry, highbrow, aristocratic humor, but it was obviously a lampoon of films. But that being said, we get to the point where Robert Wagner's character enters the fray, the party, if you will, in the hills.
Yeah, man. Didn't
and this is
recognize him, but now I see.
yeah, now you see it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Definitely the youngest I've ever seen him in a movie.
So yeah, so Robert, this leads to the one and only scene in this movie that honestly made me laugh was the scene that holds up for me, which is this one.
Yes, sir.
Scotch on the rocks. Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you very much. Say, I'm looking for my uncle, Sir Charles Lytton. Darling, may I get you some water?
Hold your hands over your head.
Yes, my darling, and bend forward. All right, my darling.
My darling,
I've
and
watched
lean
that
forward.
5 times and it gets me every time.
Yeah.
Put your hands up and lean forward. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Um,
Like some of his klutzy stuff, like I say, I enjoyed his slapstick. I'm surprised at how often I sort of giggled at him kicking something or tripping over something, because, yeah, he did that well.
I
He's
mean,
a good
he did
comedic
it well,
actor,
but
Peter Sellers.
to be fair, the real like powerhouse of this film was Capuchin. Like she
Really?
held this film. No, seriously,
Well,
she held
no,
this
it's Peter
film
Sellers.
together.
It's Peter Sellers. She's good.
Like she had a role to
I mean,
play,
she's-
mind
she's
you.
fine.
I absolutely yes, I understand that, but like her character is written as such a nothing burger. Like,
oh no, for sure. But she acts her ass off as that nothing burger. Every scene she's in, she's doing what she can to basically demand the screen, and she, without her sort of, I guess you could say, back and forth with the other male actors, and
I would say she had zero chemistry with David Niven, but she did have chemistry with Peter Sellers.
I
They
agree.
were funny together.
David Niven could been swapped out with like a broom.
Here's your nothing burger.
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
There's
he
your
was.
nothing burger.
There's a reason. The funny thing was he thought there was going to be a whole franchise of the Pink Panther based off of him. So he's actually pretty jaded.
Because he was the
that-
thief.
Yeah, he was the thief, and he thought there was going to be a whole series of movies, and everything switched when Peter Sellers came on board, and then he became the focus as Jacques Clouseau.
Okay.
And then
And he's Peter Sellers.
yeah, and Niven ended up not actually touching the franchise up until after Peter Sellers died.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we had this whole scene where she like thinks she's sneaking in to Charles, but it's actually his nephew
Wagner.
Wagner, and he gets all kissy and gropey, and there's a lot of that, a bit too much of that in my opinion.
Well, he gets really kind of menacing and threatening with her later, where he just keeps kind of following her and staying close to her, and she's trying to get away. Like that was gross.
Yeah,
There's a lot of gross stuff.
There was.
so we actually with this we get to Davan's favorite scene.
I see. This made me chuckle.
Oh, Jacques, I don't think you should.
Don't worry, my darling. I shall do it ever so soft.
Oh, Jacques, are you sure?
My darling, of course, it's always worked before. There's no reason why it should not work now. Oh, you just relax and leave everything to me.
And to get her in the mood.
Terrible.
Jacques,
Yes, madame?
I really don't think it's such a good idea.
He just has this Stradivarius that he keeps around, and he's like a horrible violin player, but he has this like awesome violin.
I do
He,
like the payoff with that violin. It
He steps
was
on and
well
breaks it.
timed, excellent.
oh yeah, me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
he crushes his own Stradivarius.
So yeah, this basically cat and mouse game goes on for like the next 40 minutes of the film. Where eventually Claudia's Dalla character comes to visit Charles at his place, where she's
Okay.
admitted earlier she never drinks. So this guy's like, well, have a little drinky poo, why don't you?
Yeah.
So he
Ugh.
does that
Yeah.
like groomer 101, which is to get the young impressionable lady drunk. And
Oh,
apparently
he's just a young hotshot, Murphy. He's just a young up and comer himself.
Okay.
Well,
That's fine. But honestly,
that
what I
leads-
couldn't get over in this scene, this was my least favorite scene in the movie, by the way. I
Ooh.
couldn't get over the tiger on the floor.
You mean
Okay.
Jameel's scene that holds up? This one?
Yes.
Oh no, I hate this.
And I'll explain why
Okay.
when it starts playing.
Sorry.
When
We'll get
I
there.
rode my first elephant. I was 6 when I went on my first safari. Frazari. Wild animal hunt. And I was 10
They called that in
when I
India?
bagged my first tiger. But I'll never forget my lovely little pony.
When did you bag him?
When'd you bag?
That was
Oh,
funny,
you're
actually.
making fun again. You
But I
really
still
don't like
just
animals.
stared at the poor tiger,
Don't
though.
trust a man who doesn't care about animals.
So this is practically a monologue because he gives her nothing in terms of what to act
Oh,
off of, and she is just so charismatic, right? Dealing with this, like I'm not a fan of the monologue to begin with. I just found that she took this, garbage and made it into something at least a little bit palatable. And every time they switch back to him, I'm like, oh God, he's there.
Me too.
I think that she, like, to me, if I was a producer, I'd be like, we need to get her into something better than this. Because I
She
thought
could have
that
been a
she
good
was
Bond villain of the day.
She was
like a Bond girl. I guess
Yes.
She would have been a
Like,
great Bond girl, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
if it wasn't
funny you
this
say
scene,
that,
it would have been
Jaemeel.
the step into the violin scene. I thought that was just
As
a
much
great
as
job.
I think we're in simpatico tonight here as far as our scenes, Jaemeel. But other than the fact that I was staring at the poor tiger the whole time, I actually had that thought while we were watching that scene that like she is cutting this up and she'd make a good Bond girl. Like, yeah, she's good.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know if she's
so
in
that
much
tiger
more
comes into play
movies
as,
after
as
this.
Charles attempts to pick her up, but ultimately gives up and just wraps her up and drags her into his own bedroom, of all places, to put her in bed. That's when he discovers that George is at the hotel. Again, more of this
Creepy
cat
George.
and mouse between George and Charles and Clouseau, and them trying to basically find the Pink Panther diamond. It's just so disjointed and it jumps around that it was a bit hard to
Yeah, they probably
track of.
mentioned the Pink Panther diamond twice in this movie, and probably not for the first hour and 20 minutes. Like, it's just more about this like kind of cat and mouse thing with like the women and the men. Like, it's like
I like
we're-
musical sequences. I hate when the person's performing to the camera with people watching you,
Full
like
fourth wall
Yeah.
break. This is the most
Yeah.
distracting musical number ever. Let me look
was.
at the camera while everybody doesn't look at anything. They're gonna look at the ground and pretend they're not looking at anything. It's like
Peter Sellers looks hilariously awkward there. Again, great comedic acting.
yeah, he was holding it together. He was like that shy uncle that just kind of like does the hip toss and the
Yeah.
little hand wavies and like the penguin dances. But yeah, he gets into the slapstick. He basically, through a series of buffoonery, he basically clumses his way into finding this whole damn thing.
Pretty much. I mean, I just remember there's this one scene early in the movie where he's like at the police station, I think. And during this like very short scene, he ends up bumping into like 3 different things, and when he kicks the third one, which is like a garbage can or something, just the look on his face, he's just so defeated with how clumsy he is. Like it was very fun, but that was almost my favorite scene.
Yeah, this whole scene went on for 40 minutes from the beginning to the end. The whole like hide you under the bed, hide you under the curtains, hide from this room, go to this room. But this scene was too much. I was like, okay, you need to chill, kid.
We've seen this like this whole sequence has been done to death in the year since. But the thing is, we've seen it done a lot better, a lot quicker, a lot more snappier. It doesn't have the stylings of Peter Sellers, who he does a great job in terms of his part. But overall, this could have been done and has been done so much better.
I feel like this could have been a 40-minute episode of Murder, She Wrote, or even like a 22-minute episode of an 80s sitcom.
Yeah.
So fun fact here, this bubble bath scene, they apparently used like an industrial grade like
Jesus. They didn't burn her, did they?
All the actors in this scene, their skin was burnt from using this, and Wagner, because he's basically head deep, was blind for 4 weeks after that.
So dumb.
What?
Yeah.
Somebody got paid to make that tub full of bubbles.
You don't even really see the water. Like
yeah, it's just all bubbles, and then there's like a foreground, somebody's using steam, and like it's clearly on a set. The fact, like, there was another quote that said the director wanted to exercise the brutal painfulness of humor. So he would just purposely make scenes run on longer than they needed to, so people would like
he
get
clearly did.
uncomfortable. And he would just be like, "That's their breaking point. Cool, run another 5 minutes with it." It's just like, oh, you
didn't work.
goddamn
It didn't
monster.
work. Like
No.
that's Seth MacFarlane humor. Like if you just make this scene 2 minutes longer, maybe somebody will laugh.
Yeah, like it just kept going and going.
The champagne, that was
The
a good payoff.
innuendo. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
you
Like
you
even
can
I
see
felt
it.
sticky after that. They're just so covered in champagne.
And yeah, it's just like continuously going to the point where his nephew finds his like stash bag. I thought this was a pretty cool scene, actually. This probably would have been a held up scene for me, just for the whole like mechanism of his break-in like gear.
His toolkit.
But then his toolkit. But then it becomes buffoonish because it's like, one, why is he hiding from his nephew? Is he not in on it? Maybe he's not in on it. 2, he then proceeds. I thought he was dead here. I was like, oh, he's gonna die. Oh, this is.
Then who's
dope.
gonna steal the Pink Panther if he dies in a
Okay,
snowfall?
Here's where my brain went. He dies, and it turns out Clouseau's actually the Pink Panther all along. Oh, that would be cool. That would make a great movie.
The diamond's the Pink Panther. You mean the Phantom?
Well, I mean, Clouseau's the thief, the actual thief, the Phantom. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, you can kind of say that the branding of this movie is kind of it misleads the public, because if you ask the public who's the Pink Panther, they would say it's Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah,
Jacques Clouseau. Jacques. I'm saying his name wrong.
It's Clouseau.
Clouseau. Okay. And they even the sequels where they have his quote unquote progeny being the investigator. The movie is called Son of Pink Panther.
Yeah.
It puts that
How
in
to be
the
a son of a
audience.
diamond, yeah. And like, how do you keep having movies named Pink Panther that people keep trying to steal the same diamond?
Well, apparently the diamond was only like a centerpiece for the first 3 movies, and then after that it was just
so
the first 3.
Yeah, so it's a Knives Out situation where they're like, "Oh shoot, it's popular, but we named it something, so we're just gonna keep that name with anything." It wasn't Glass Onion; it was Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
I haven't seen either of those movies yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of these yet. Yeah.
Oh Lord, you guys. All right, moving on.
If you're on this
Um,
show because you've seen more movies, and I've stopped watching a lot of movies 20 years ago, but this movie's seed. Well, funny you mentioned in your origin story, Jaemeel. One of the seeds that started this podcast was watching movies you're too young to watch. That's what started me.
So yeah, in spite of basically Clouseau's, own buffoonery, he like loses his jacket. He's walking around pointing his gun at people. Charles manages to escape, so he manages to capture Sir Charles and George when they both make the attempt to steal the diamond during a costume party, um, which I couldn't. Was it Halloween? Was this just like
That's a
It was just a
restaurant, by the
costume
way.
party.
That outside shot is a restaurant.
Yeah,
Los Angeles.
but
I'm
it's
pretty
just a
sure.
costume party.
Oh, really? It's a restaurant? Interesting.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's a restaurant.
It makes
Like a
sense for it
famous
to be a restaurant.
I forget what it's called.
This scene went on for a bit. There was obviously the Peter Seller, slapstick. It started getting really confusing when they brought in the gorillas, but that was kind of the point. They make you think it's one guy, then there's like two, and then there's three, and then there might have been four for all we know. The one scene that kind of started to pick up was when Peter Sellers picks up a Roman candle and like the lights go out. And he's like, "Oh, I found a candle," and then it just like friggin' fireworks the entire house and proceeds to
Knowing
go
their
off.
safety record, I was wondering, like, did
Who
anyone
died
get
during that
hurt?
You know what? I didn't find any notes about anybody getting injured, but I mean they were just
Yeah,
Roman
it's not like
candles
it
for the
was
most
John
part.
Landis.
Yeah.
It's like, how many kids did you kill this time?
Basically, the ensuing car chase through the streets ends with all the vehicles colliding with one another. There's this whole scene here that's supposed to be homage to like a Hitchcock film about this guy who can't cross the street because cars keep crossing his path. Apparently, nobody picked up on this reference when the guy first made the film. I know I didn't, but this scene was
Because
just
it's a poorly done reference.
it was so poorly done, and it went on forever. Like it could have ended quickly, and it should have. But yeah, all the vehicles collide with one another. We get the scene where the uncle and nephew are in prison, and Clouseau's thinking he's got.
Are they in prison? They
bang.
seem like they're in a very comfortable space.
It's
Very
a
relaxed.
prison or a jail. Perhaps a jail or holding cell.
It's a jailhouse, yeah.
Yeah.
French jailhouse. Is that where we are? In
So even
Paris?
cushier, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
I got some bad news for you, Sam. KBBL is on the show.
But there's lots of great episodes that were already made. So just go back and start with season 1 of The Simpsons and just pair it with an episode of KBBL that it corresponds with. That's your evenings for the next couple of days. Enjoy. You're welcome.
There you go. Where was I? Right. So yeah, later Simone discovers that Princess Dollar herself stole the diamond from her own safe for fears of her being deported back to Lugash. Lugas. I don't know how to pronounce this, but we'll go with
spell it?
Lugash. Lugash. Lugash.
It's a fictional
Is
country.
it fictional? Okay.
It's a fictional country.
Well, we'll go with
I
Lugi.
just assumed it was India.
Simone offers to help Dala by taking possession of the diamond and decides to help out Sir Charles and George when they're put on trial for theft. The conviction looks inevitable until Princess Dala and Simone hatch a plan to frame Clouseau. The defense calls a surprise Clouseau to the stand as their lone witness. The barrister asks a series of questions, suggests that Clouseau himself could be the Phantom. The nerve Clouseau pulls his handkerchief out of his shirt pocket, revealing the jewel planted there by Madame Clouseau. As Clouseau is
It
being
was a
driven
missed
away,
opportunity not calling him Le Fantôme.
La Fantôme.
Yeah.
So yeah, Clouseau basically gets let out, and he's just mobbed to death by all these women saying he's the Pink Panther and yada yada, or he's the Phantom and yada yada. And as Clouseau's being driven away,
You're still saying it. You'll probably call him the Pink Panther at least 5 more times before this is done.
All
It's
they
not
need
your
to-
fault. It's not your fault.
All they need to do was just say, the biggest heist of his career is the stealing of the Pink Panther. So we've dubbed him now, Clouseau, as the Pig
The Pink
Panther.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
One
they
line,
Maybe they do
bam,
that.
done.
Maybe they do it. Yeah,
Maybe they do.
in later movies. Yeah.
So yeah, Simone expresses that she's regretful and fears that Clouseau will rot in prison. Sir Charles points out that it takes years for people to rot, and when the Phantom strikes again, he'll be as free as a bird. Sir Charles, Simone, and George drive away together as a united team to continue the life of crime elsewhere, and Dala leaves to go back to her country. In the police car, the officers tell Clouseau that as the Phantom, he is a national hero and a sex idol for millions of young women, and add that they are very envious of him. When they ask him with some difference how he committed all these robberies, Clouseau, defeated and bewildered, apparently still unaware of his wife's betrayal, but happy to realize that in a few years, when he's released, he will have all the women in the world after him. Sighs and smiles a little, then replies, well, it wasn't easy. And then the film ends with the cartoon character, the Pink Panther,
Lord.
who is a police officer, getting run over.
It
by
goes
a
on
police
to
car.
great fame, that cartoon character. I
We
used to
get the
watch
end.
the Matt Frewer cartoon. Matt Frewer was the voice of the Pink Panther, but Matt
Yep.
Frewer's great at everything.
He is a legend.
Yeah, legend. Somebody's spamming our chat with like the same message, but from several different accounts.
Yes.
Turds.
Yes. And Matt Frewer also in a Marvel property.
Generation X.
Really?
Yes. Which I rewatched recently, about a month ago.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
How'd that hold up for you?
Look, I was a big Gen X. Sorry, I am a big Gen X fan. So back in 1996, when it first aired, I watched that movie because I recorded it on VHS, and I was reciting the movie as it was playing.
my
I knew
God.
it still like the back of my hand.
Wow.
Welcome to Hastings, butt breath. Yes, Generation X. That's Chris
Number
Bichello
one.
and Scott Lobdell.
Oh, yeah, Chris Bacalo. Yeah, Bacalo.
I'd never pronounced that man's name properly.
Bacalo or Bacalo. But...
That's what you get with the print, with the written word.
It's Bajilo.
Well, that's why I do the name pronunciations on this show.
What if it's Bajilo? I could be right.
It's not.
It's not. I've never heard it. I've never heard anyone attempt it that way.
No. Murphy, you're banned from names forever now. But yeah, that's the movie. That's the movie.
That's the Pink Panther.
What do we have to say about the Pink Panther? Well, let's go to our usual. That was our plot. What do you think of the plot storytelling? Like, boring, right?
Yeah, no.
Too long.
It takes forever to get going. Yeah.
I had a yada yada through the middle, 45 minutes of the film, basically.
I had to I had to stop it and then start all over again to try to see if I can piece together where George's character came into play, because it just he appears and it's meanwhile I'm like, what? Right? And then it takes forever to get back to him.
I was so confused when she ended up in the bedroom with Robert Wagner that first time, and she was just kissing him all of a sudden. I'm like, what is even happening here?
Yeah, it was the weirdest incestual throuple I've ever seen.
It was very strange. Which performance would you guys hold up for? For me, Peter Sellers, he's fantastic. I mean, this is not a fantastic movie or a fantastic role, but he did as much as he could with it, I thought.
Yeah.
Decent start for him.
Let's see. Peter Sellers, of course, absolutely. Capuchin, and Claudia Cardinelli.
Yeah.
I thought they were all good with what they had. Right? It wasn't much, but they tried to make the best out of the situation.
Yeah, the thing
He
is,
was the real charisma vacuum in this.
Well, yeah. Peter Sellers was the charisma vacuum, but Capuchin.
No.
I meant the other way. Yeah, he was devoid of charisma.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes. No. Yes. Yeah. I felt the same about Capuchin and Claudia Cardinal. Just the fact that their scenes that they were in were more believable than anything Nevin was in, and you know, every other scene. Like it was, I felt myself just wanting more Peter Sellers out of this film, and I was like, I thought I was expecting more of him, and I'm like, wow, he's like a third of this film for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like it almost felt like a movie with no star, other than the fact that Peter Sellers was just better than everybody else. But the setting aesthetic. One comment I have on that: the Pink Panther diamond, looked terrible, and they talk about how it has like the outline of a panther in it, but when they zoom in on it, you don't
You
see
don't
any
see
of that.
anything.
Like, there's no you expect to see it. You're like, oh, we get to see the panther, and it's just like a bunch of lines, and you're like, what? That was it? Because they
Yeah.
zoom in and everything. It's just like, here's the diamond. It's just like, what a letdown that even was. Like, this movie started off with a letdown. Like,
Yeah. Exterior
um,
shots look good because of where they were filming, but
yeah,
a lot of the interior shots outside of the restaurant that we have for the costume party, a lot of blank walls with like it feels really like they're in a studio just making it.
doesn't feel like Europe.
Yeah,
Like,
No.
yeah,
it could be any hotel.
yeah, for sure. Well, I guess that brings us to
Movie
and
morsels for Panther.
satiate our hunger, Murphy.
Satiate your hunger with some movie morsels
Mm-hmm.
from the
Yes.
1963 film
Let's
Pink
see if you
Panther.
got the one that I have in mind.
All right. Well, if I dropped anything on the floor, Jameel's got it. So let's see what happens.
We had Crumblies with KH last episode, so now we got
Jujubes with Jameel.
yeah, something like that.
Spare change.
Yeah,
it's spare
of
change.
course, of
Spare
course,
change.
Of course.
It was there the whole time. I feel terrible for not thinking about it. So yeah, movie morsels. Peter Sellers' character, Inspector Jacques Clouseau, was originally intended to have a small role in the film, but his performance was so popular with the audiences that he became the main character in subsequent films. Between 1964 to 93, 9 Inspector Clouseau or related films would be released. Although Inspector Clouseau from 1968 and the movies made after Peter Sellers' death are mostly not considered canon, all but 2 would carry the Pink Panther title, but only 4 of the films actually deal with the Pink Panther diamond itself. This one, The Return of the Pink Panther from 75, Trail of the Pink Panther from 82, and Curse of the Pink Panther from 83. The reason they still kept the Pink Panther in the title was because it had become synonymous with Inspector Clouseau.
I don't feel like this concept or these characters deserve that many movies. Like, they didn't. I don't get it.
It's the most baffling franchise. It's the
Yeah.
most baffling franchise. The film's
I mean,
iconic
other than like
animated,
Transformers.
the film's
They keep
iconic
making
animated
those.
title sequence, featuring the cartoon Pink Panther, was created by David H. DePatie and Franz Freleng. David Niven's
Fritz
character.
Freleng, yeah.
Freleng, yeah. David Niven's character, Sir Charles Linton, is based on the real-life jewel thief Arsène Lupin. The film was originally titled The Pink Diamond, but the title was changed to The Pink Panther to capitalize on the popularity of the animated title sequence.
Pink Diamond would not have got 9 movies.
No.
I'm making that call right now.
Oh my
No movie
gosh.
called The Pink Diamond would have got 9 sequels.
A
or 8
lot of
sequels.
this movie was literally just spun off because of the intro and the music and stuff.
The
which
music.
won awards. It
Yeah.
won an Academy
It
Award.
carried this movie.
Um,
A few times I just closed my eyes and listened to the music and didn't watch the movie.
Claudia Cardinal's character, Princess Dalla, was originally written as a more minor role, but her performance was expanded during filming. Claudia Cardinal could not speak English, so Princess Dalla's dialogue was dubbed by 20-year-old Gail Garnett.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't even notice the
Didn't
dubbing.
even
It
notice.
was good dubbing.
Please tell me that Gail Garnett had like a substantial career doing something, because
hope.
she was. I think her ability to express and like. Okay, I'm
It's
looking.
really
Didn't
good
speak
aim
English.
there.
How did she mouth the words? Doesn't make sense.
Where her
In
accent was probably so heavy and
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
in the bath scene, Capuchin and Robert Wagner, an industrial strength foaming agent was used, which burned both the stars. I mentioned that earlier. And in the director's commentary for the DVD of this film, he tells the story of picking up Sellers from the airport and immediately bonding over their shared love of old comedians like Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd. Rest in peace, Buster Keaton. Who Blake Edwards was friends with, actually, was Harold Lloyd. By the end of the car ride, they had agreed to change the Clouseau character to incorporate slapstick. Cinematography from Philip Lothrop, edited by Ralphie Winters, music by Harry Mancini, December 18th, 1963 in Italy, but
And it's
March
Henry
18th,
Mancini.
64 for a U.S. release date. It's Henry Mancini, yes. Running time of 113 minutes, a budget of $3 million estimated, with a box office of $10.9 million. It was a huge success at the time. It's made a lot of money.
It's
which is
still a
why it
huge
made
success,
lot of
even with your
franchises.
marketing budget too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Gail Garnett. Doing a little
Mhm.
quick little search on her. New Zealand born, became a Canadian citizen.
Oh,
Penned
wow.
the Grammy winning folk song We'll Sing in the Sunshine. She ended up having a pretty lengthy career. Her last bit of work seemed to come in 2005. She was in My Big Fat Greek Wedding and did a lot of Canadian shows, including Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, ENG,
Everybody did
and
kung fu.
the Edison Twins as well, and an episode of The Littlest Hobo because everyone did The Littlest Hobo.
Oh man, I feel like we're on an X-rated episode now, where we're constantly talking about how all those actors were in every other Canadian show.
Yeah, but a great career that stemmed out of it. Pretty good for her. Big bucket of win for her. She's still alive, which is good. 80 years old, but here's to you, Gail. You get some credit.
We
Yeah, for sure.
appreciate your fine work.
Yeah.
Rewatchability. No. I'm not putting myself through that again.
No.
If you ever go to a screening of the movie and it has a live score performance, go to see it. Get like a little blindfold on and just listen. Just listen.
Yeah. That's the best advice you can ever get about this movie.
Yeah.
Now that's some spare change for you.
Ooh. I should have like a little jar of change and just shake in the background.
I'll make you a banner, and we'll just put it up on screen whenever you say something spare changey.
Oh yes. Is that all the movie morsels?
That's all the movie morsels.
Ooh,
Generally, when I hit the budget
you didn't catch
and
one.
The box office.
Oh.
So there's something on the floor. What do we got?
Okay, this song that was played, I believe it's called "Let's Make It Tonight" or Let's Make It Tonight. Anyways, with the distinctive opening of dun 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 dun, has been sampled in recent times, most notably by Canadian rap group Swollen Members for their classic song "Bring It Home." Yes, I knew you would get that.
I just slapped my tattoo. I should have done that.
Please don't do that.
Oh wow! Wow! I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yes.
Wow.
Devin, I know you would not get that at all, but as someone who has consistently been in a lot of karaoke bars in the GTA for the last like 10 or so years, "Bring It Home" by Swollen Members is one that is revered due to one, its re-listenability. I messed up that word, but we'll still roll with it. As well as its cheesiness and its opening notes are infectious, and I did not realize that it sampled from this score until I was watching the movie, and I was immediately able to pull it. So kudos once again. This is how iconic this score is, right?
Oh,
Where people 30, 40 years are still mining it, right? The content. The Pink Panther theme stands alone as
That'll
one
never
of the
go
best pieces of film music ever created.
Mhm.
But even when you're seeing like the B side is also being mined for resources. Kudos to that. Great job, Henry.
Yeah. And deep cut, swollen members.
Swollen members.
Yeah, with the deepest cuts. Pulling out
All right, now the big
katana of
question.
knowledge.
Does it hold up? You first, Jaemeel.
I realize how appreciated this movie is, but for me, no, it doesn't. Like, get the album, the film album. I think people should watch it, right? But you'll never watch it again. It does not hold up as a movie.
No, I mean, no. Just no. Yeah, no.
No.
Like
No,
at
yeah,
the at the end of the day, it was it was the kickoff point for a massive franchise. But if you really want to watch something Pink Panther, watch the Steve Martin one.
No,
I don't know. I've never seen it, but
it's not good. I don't
think
like
that's
it either.
prime Steve Martin.
It's not prime Steve Martin, but it's a better version of the Pink Panther.
Just watch the animated series.
You know,
The cartoon Panther is a cool guy, Matt Frewer.
Yeah.
Nice thing.
Pink.
Yeah, man. No, it doesn't hold up. And I went in with 110% wanting to love this movie. And so I was worried that I was just disappointed because my expectations were too high, but you guys didn't care for it either. So it wasn't just me. All right, let's move over to Theater 2. For Jameel's pick. Jaemeel. Out of Sight from 1998, starring George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Ving Rhames, and Viola Davis. A hell of a cast. I mean, I could take or leave Jennifer Lopez as
Not
an
Steve
actress,
Zahn.
to be honest. Oh, and Steve Zahn. He's good in this. I should have. All right, I'm going to throw him in there. You're right. And directed by Steven Soderbergh.
We also got Luis Guzman.
Luis Guzman.
Oh, yeah, Luis Guzman was in it. Yeah.
Albert Brooks.
I got to put Albert Brooks in there too. I love
Isaiah
Albert Brooks.
Washington.
Albert Brooks was almost too good for this movie. Not in this movie, but just in general. I love Albert Brooks more than I love this movie. That's for sure.
I like Albert Brooks.
I
don't like him that much.
Yeah. Oh man, he does all the best Simpsons guest voices. You'd never believe how many Simpsons characters he voices.
So I think you misunderstand what I mean. I like him. I don't like him as much as I love this movie. So spoiler alert.
You and I are coming to different sides of this movie.
Oh yes, I knew that I would have to do be talking a lot for this movie. So which is fair.
Well, let's refresh our palates with a little trailer. What do you guys say?
Oh, I hate the trailer.
All right. Does it give away the whole movie? Because a lot of them
only happen a few times in your life.
Who once?
You always remember it because it was there and you let it go and you think to yourself, what if I had stopped? No bills at the bottom of the drawer, please. It's your first time being around?
All the joy of the movie.
You're doing great.
All the
Thank
hipness.
Have a nice day.
They think it's like Bound. Or
think you flooded it. Get out of the
this
car,
trailer's making it seem a bit more
my friend,
cheesy
that
of
I
a
don't
movie.
keep all my money in the bank.
A bit more comedy.
Surprised with all you can get and ask for it the
Just
right
that
way.
music they chose. That's the complete wrong music for this trailer.
It's okay, we're the good guys.
What are you doing here? You're just a girl. What do you do for a living? You pack a shotgun.
I'm a federal
Oh, it's
marshal.
the Isley Brothers. I fucking love
I'm
it.
in. Let's go.
But it's not the right one for this movie.
You comfy?
You have got to be.
for this trailer.
Now you be a good girl now. I'm gonna open up the door.
Oh yeah, where it shows up in the movie, it's fun.
down and have cocktails with a woman who tried to shoot you.
It was an unusual experience.
What's with this background music?
Oh, what one last score?
Because it was like
You tired of
98,
some island?
man.
Is that
That
the
was
idea?
like a common.
Partial
Just
to
like,
mountains myself. If you like island, think of an island.
Not exactly a 9 to 5 type.
Who is?
I'm pretty sure the person who made this trailer also did the trailer for Geely.
It's beautiful.
I can see that.
Thanks, Dad.
Here, ma'am, let me help you with these.
Now, I didn't ask for your help, so don't expect a tip.
Oh, that's okay, ma'am.
I'm gonna
I'll
just take the car.
I've vertically integrated myself. Now I'm into the occasional grand larceny, home invasion.
You waved at you?
Couldn't swear to it, but I'm pretty sure he did.
Did you wave back? Jeez, they're shooting men.
And now, Dick, they're trying to open up the safe. Now you're made. Ever wear one of these?
I don't ski.
I'm a federal officer. I can't handle myself. Wanted to tussle. We tussled.
Whoops.
Damn it, Jack, put the gun down!
You wouldn't do that
Oh, why not?
because you're having too much fun.
Terrible trailer. Trailer that doesn't
By
use-
Danny DeVito.
You gotta
Yeah.
fight the powers that be. Yeah, I was
All
actually
right,
surprised
I got-
Danny DeVito's name that.
I got one thing I got to say about this movie, and then I'm gonna shut up for a while because I don't think I have a lot more to say about this movie. One, Don Cheadle's pretty much great and everything. Two, so is George Clooney, and George Clooney's record is like really good. Like I can't remember many George Clooney movies I've seen that aren't good or great. Oh Brother Where Art Thou is great. Good Night, Good Luck. Like he's in great movies. I didn't really like that Solaris one or whatever he was in. Was that him? Yeah, but he's got a good track record, and he's good in this. And so is Ving Rhames, Viola Davis, of course. He's on Albert Brooks. Great actors, yes. Jennifer Lopez is not a good actress, at least not in this. Like again, another charisma vacuum. Anyone could have played her role, and it probably would have been better. Two, her character and her character's motivations are awful. This movie would have been better without her in it at all. And three, the last thing I have to say, hanging a lantern on the part of this movie they knew was horrible doesn't make it okay. I hate when modern movies do that. They know they're writing something just awful that you couldn't even get away with in like writing school, so they just hang a lantern on it. And when they did that in this movie, was they're like, oh, you know what I hated about that movie? Was that how they got together so fast for no reason, which is exactly what happens between her and George Clooney. But hanging a lantern on it doesn't make that any better. It's a terribly written romance thing that they do there. They have no chemistry. And yeah, I don't need to watch any more Jennifer Lopez movies. I'm done.
Okay.
She was surrounded by such good actors that she was noticeably not as good as the rest of them. All right, I'm done.
Wow.
Done, promise.
Wow. Well,
I liked the movie.
Disagree with Davin's take a bit. I felt like Jennifer Lopez
Jameel's
was actually one of her better
calming
roles
himself.
that I've seen her in.
That ain't saying much. She can dance.
Not wrong.
She's not an actress, at least not a great one.
Oh, okay. Not yeah. I don't know. This was one of her better roles, and I thought she did really well in this film, and she held her own with the incredible cast that was in this movie, and it was very well paced. It was extremely well paced, and I loved the detail in the time jumping that was portrayed in the film. The jokes hit. There was really good quotable moments throughout the film. I enjoyed the fuck out of Don Cheadle's character. It was a good film in my books. I was liking what was going down. I didn't have as much vile or vitriol for it as Davin would.
No, I liked the movie, just not when Jennifer Lopez was on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like are you guys actually going to disagree with what I said about?
I'm straight up disagreeing with what you said, dude.
You think those characters you think it actually made sense for those characters to they basically fall in love after being in a trunk together for 30 seconds. It was stupid and ridiculous.
Did they fall in love?
Yes, basically, because they do whatever they can.
Really.
They do whatever they can to get together after that, just because of this, because he liked a movie that she likes. It was so bad that they had to hang that lantern on it, but that doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it better. That's lazy writing, and it's awful. It
I,
didn't need to. They
I'm
didn't need that
trying
romance plot.
I'm going to try my best to not apply my knowledge of the character and the book when we're talking
There's a
about the
book?
movie.
There's a
It's
book,
based
yeah.
off of a book.
Yeah,
I never heard of the book.
That's the opening line.
Just
of
grab
my
the book.
breakdown.
Okay. Little brief history. I hope it's not a morsel, but I'll think. The reason why Danny DeVito produced this is because he was in Get Shorty, right? Which was another Elmore Leonard film, right? And due to the success of that, and also the success of past Elmore Leonard books, Danny DeVito thought it was a great jumping on point to start producing more of his works. Elmer Leonard is responsible for Justified is based off of his work. 310 to Yuma is based off of his work. Maximum Bob, the TV show, is based upon his works. Like, there is about 15 or 16 adaptations of his works and multiple remakes of his works. He has a specific style. Sure, he does westerns, crime dramas, and thrillers, but his books usually has like the bad guys are cool and stylish. There's a lot of wordplay and a lot of back and forth dialogue. You want to cheer for the heroes, but at the same time, the villains are also cool. Even the really bad ones are still kind of cool, and you can appreciate
they're
them.
not. George Clooney and Ving Rhames are cool, but nobody else is cool in this
Don
movie.
Cheadle is not cool in this movie.
Yeah, I disagree. Don Cheadle.
I like the one scene where he's trying to like sell all the shit to Albert Brooks. He's like, "Oh well, if you want a pillow, it's gonna be like that." Scene was great, but when he was just like, I don't know. He was good. He's a good actor, but I didn't like his character. I didn't want to cheer for his character. Like
he doesn't.
They're all a bunch of kind of rapist scumbags. That's why he goes back to the mansion. He's like, they're clearly gonna rape everybody in that friggin' house. They're not characters you want to cheer for. Like, I don't cheer for rapists. I don't find them charismatic.
Now, keep in mind,
interesting.
Keep in mind, you appreciate like Don Cheadle's character being on screen. That doesn't necessarily mean you want him to win, mind you. Okay,
he's a really good bad guy. He plays an
really good bad guy. Like Isaiah Washington is a bad guy you don't want to win. You're not cheering for, and you're happy to see his comeuppance.
Who's that?
He's the brother, Viola Davis's brother.
Most rapey one? Yeah, the
yes.
most rapey of the rapies.
Right? Who wants to tussle?
No, of course not. Yeah.
He's talked about his dog Tuffy.
And I'd have been happy about that.
All right, well let's get into this plot.
Sorry,
of this film as we break it.
Well, I think my favorite scene opens the movie, so you might as well just click right into that.
Well, yeah, basically. So let me just sort of set this up. So, Out of Sight, 1998. Out of Sight is a stylish crime thriller directed by Steven Soderbergh and based on the novel by Elmore Leonard. The movie stars George Clooney as Jack Foley, a charming career bank robber who gets caught up on a spur-of-the-moment heist in Miami. The film opens with Foley being arrested and sent to the Glades. And yes, Davan, this is your favorite scene, the opening scene, basically.
I had to give my partner a sign. Now, that's good. Now he's going to wait 30 seconds until I'm out of the building. Make sure you haven't set off the alarm. If you have, he's going to shoot you, Mr. Gwendon, between the eyes. Okay?
What I love about this scene is if that guy who he says is his partner had just gotten up because he finished his meeting, his whole heist would have been screwed.
This 5 minutes was way better.
She's cute, isn't she?
Yeah, like that guy. That guy there, if he'd have just got up and left a minute earlier, he'd have been so screwed.
Who was that?
Who was that?
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Like, now that's a bad guy. I don't usually cheer for bad guy characters, but he's more of a bad guy character you can cheer from. Like, he wants to stop rapists. He never is violent. He just steals money from banks.
Does not like using guns.
Doesn't
commits his crime using his... Yeah.
Well, I think George Clooney picked the role because it reminded him of sort of like that old school style of like protagonist hero, where it's like
Steve
he's probably
McQueen
stealing some money, Steve McQueen style, but he's also not a complete like monster.
I think you flooded it.
Yeah, I think you flooded it. So yeah, George
That'll show up in the
Clooney,
next movie too.
he gets caught after a spur of the moment heist in Miami. The film opens with Foley being arrested and sent to the Glades Correctional Institution, where he meets fellow inmate Chino, played by Luis Guzman. Luis Guzman, and begins to plan his escape. Apparently, a little fun fact, I didn't add this one to movie morsels, but I thought I'd throw this in. So this whole scene where George Clooney is just being terrible at basketball, apparently George Clooney's really good at basketball.
Yeah, he's good at it.
Yeah.
And it ate him up and embarrassed the hell out of him because he had to pretend he was bad at basketball, and during this scene it was actual correctional like prisoners, so he had to be in front of like hundreds of real life prisoners and pretend he was bad at basketball, and it just destroyed him. He hated the scene. So yeah, basically Luis Guzman is introduced with his lover. I forget this actor's name, but apparently he was really popular back in the day.
I don't really recognize him.
I don't recognize him at all.
I don't recognize him either. And I kind of recognize this guard, but I forgot to get his name as well.
Yeah, I don't recognize him either. No, you know what? I have seen that actor before. I can't tell you his name, but yeah, that guy there.
He's
Definitely
popular
seen him before.
He's done some 90s work somewhere. But yeah. So basically, Clooney gets on to the fact that Guzman's Super Bowl Sunday is moving up because he noticed that Chino was running a little lighter. Chino points out the fact that they're basically extending the fence, and if they do that, that's 10 more days of digging, so they need to get out of here. So Foley calls his ex-wife Adele, played by Catherine Keener, who looks gorgeous in this movie.
Yep.
Like, I don't think she's ever looked better. I mean, she's definitely looked amazing, but I
know her from anything.
Look in this film.
Hot Grandma. Hot Grandma.
Never heard of it.
No, it's 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah.
Oh,
she
I
was a
never
hot
saw
migrant.
that movie.
She was also, I believe, if I'm... No, it might
Being
be
John
something else.
Malkovich.
Being John Malkovich. Okay.
She's been in a bunch. About Last Night.
So yeah, Adele is an in and out of work magician's assistant, and he calls her to notify. So she'll notify his friend and accomplice Buddy, who's played by the incomparable Ving Rhames. Let him know about the Super Bowl Sunday breakout, where we get introduced to Ving Rhames' character. He helps the old lady you saw in the trailer, and he just takes her car, which was a great line. I'll just take your
Which
car.
to me makes no sense because she would report that car missing. Like,
yeah, exactly. There's a few moments where it's like, wait, what? Why would they? But that was just like across the movies, across all board. So yeah, he steals that. Meanwhile, U.S. Marshal Karen Sisko, portrayed by Jennifer Lopez,
not Sandra Bullock.
Not Sandra Bullock, who was up for the role at one point.
Yes.
Arrives at she's
Would have been a lot better.
They said that she didn't have the chemistry to do the role.
God. Oh my God.
What is this actor's name? I thought I put this
David
down.
Fiera.
David Fiera.
Dennis Farina.
Dennis Farina, yes.
Dennis Farina, all right.
Yes.
He's great in everything. I mean, he always plays the same character, but
you know what?
Yeah.
I was a little worried he was playing the Sir Charles or whatever, like the 58-year-old love interest of Jennifer Lopez in this movie.
That's what they wanted you to think in this scene. That was the whole
and then he's like dad, and I was
scene.
like, oh, okay, cool, all right, I can get behind that.
But they still kiss on the lips too often for
a little
my
too
taste.
much.
It's culturally okay. I'm going to defend that culturally. Yes. Robert.
He's
Forster,
Italian. What's her excuse?
Robert Foster plays the same role in the TV series adaptation.
Oh, I see.
Yes. And
I like him in
Carla.
Snatch. I don't want to leave my
Carla
country.
Gugino. Carla Gugino. I always say her name wrong. She plays
Esposito.
No. She was in Electrolux. Only Electrolux I can think of as her roles. Son-in-Law. She was in.
Son-in-law with Pauly Shore.
And who was his love interest in that movie?
Oh, I don't really know her. I only know her from that movie, Son-in-Law.
she's been in a ton of stuff. Anyways, I think it's Carla Gugino. She was in the Frank Miller inspired comic book movie, the good
Sin
one, not
City?
the bad one. Sin City, yes. Sin City.
Oh, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Yes. She would have always made a great Poison Ivy. She would have made an incredible Poison Ivy. I really wish they would have made her Poison Ivy.
Carla Gugino.
Yeah, Carla Gugino.
Yeah, Carla Gugino. She played Karen
Oh,
Sisko
you're
in-
right. She's in a ton of things.
Yes,
Dude,
she is.
She's so gorgeous.
Didn't
That
she
woman is
marry that
amazingly
horror
gorgeous.
guy? So now she's in all of his movies. Is that her?
No, you're thinking of was it not Paul Anderson? For
The guy
Resident
who's in
Evil.
all. He makes all those. No, the guy
Resident
who makes all
Evil.
those Netflix. Yeah, no, that's her. That is her.
No,
Like,
you're
she's in
thinking.
Gerald's Game and The Haunting of Bly Manor. Yeah. She married the guy who wrote all those Netflix horror movies, and that's why she stars in all of them. Yeah.
I'm
Like
thinking about
Midnight
the other
Mass.
person that married the horror person, which is
No.
Resident Evil and
Yeah, like
Multipass. What's her name?
Wow, I didn't recognize her from Son-in-Law, but yeah, like she's in all those horror movies on Netflix because she married that Mike guy who wrote them all.
Sorry, I was talking about what's it called again? Mila Jovovich, and she married Paul W.S. Anderson. Sorry, I got my names crisscrossed. They're so similar.
Okay.
Anyways,
so back to our story at hand. Adele, for whatever reason, she pulls up to the prison where she just happens to show up at the same time that everyone's escaping. I don't know if they.
I
implied
found
why
a few
she was
plot
going.
holes in this.
she
movie.
was
There's a lot of
there.
things that
She
don't
was
make
there
a lot
because
of
she was
sense.
called up to answer questions because an inmate was questioning their rights in terms of food choices. So, as a sorry.
Go ahead. No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so she regularly does that where she has to drive up either to transport criminals, or she has to go and investigate or answer questions on their behalf. So
In the middle of the night. Okay, I gotta say,
Yeah.
this is the worst scene in the entire movie. Nothing that happens in the scene makes any sense. Like, during a situation like this, nobody notices that they're kidnapping a cop and putting her in a truck. Like, all eyes are down there from the guard tower and everything. Nothing in this scene. This was a badly written scene, or like badly directed scene. Like, all the cops that are chasing them just run off into the distance, even though there's still things happening here at the fence. And like, no, this was a bad scene.
So, in the confusion of everything at the prison, Foley and Buddy overpower Karen with the shotgun, as Davan had pointed out, and they force her to share the trunk with Foley, and Buddy ends up driving off.
They fall in love in 15 seconds because they saw the same movie.
Yeah, they're pretty much like jam-packed in this, and they have their whole conversation about like, what are you doing? This is wrong. You ever see that movie? It's, it is what it is.
Start making small talk, and they're
They
there
get flirty.
in driving
He's
for
covered
a
in
while.
shit. She's like, I'm not about this shit covered. You're kind of cute, but you're covered in shit. I'm not about it.
I hate when they write female characters like this. This movie's
What that she
outdated
would
already.
she would be attracted to the bad boy.
In this situation, yes, given her job, she meets bad boys every single day. Like,
And
yeah.
she's also and they talk about her previous relationship where she hooked up with a criminal, and they question her about it, and she says, "And what did I do at the end?" And they're like, "You shot him," and I shot him, and it's like, "Yep." Right. So it foreshadows exactly what's going to happen.
But hanging a lantern, I guess, doesn't make it good. That's different, I guess. But anyway,
So yeah, basically,
Didn't work for
Buddy
me.
and Foley end up taking the car and with Karen, and they meet up with Glenn, played by the legendary Steve Zahn.
Glad you mean Shades.
Is it
Does he
Shades?
still wear those
Oh.
sunglasses? Better make sure that you tell him not to wear those sunglasses, or I'm going to step on them, and I might not take it
Yeah.
off of his face first. Love that.
He hates those
So yeah,
sunglasses. That's for sure.
Karen eventually convinces Glenn, aka Shades, to drive off with her. But he apparently crashes. This is apparently something that happens off screen, but apparently he crashes the car and flees while she's taken to the
No,
hospital.
it's on screen.
Is it on screen? I didn't
Yes,
see it.
it's on screen where
She didn't see it either.
What, you didn't see it?
Yeah, no,
No.
it's I don't see
Okay,
it.
there's a
copy of the
scene.
movie I saw that did not happen.
She talks to him, and she's recanting, no, not recanting, but she's detailing the situation of where she found herself in the hospital, and she states that she was talking him and explained the situation and trying to get him off the road. He was refusing. She tried to commandeer the wheel,
Yeah,
and
she explains it like in the hospital,
and you
scene,
see
right?
it.
But, yeah, but do they?
And then he crashes, and then he runs out.
Oh yeah, they do. I guess they do cut that.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so all right, so I guess there's a little thing. Anyway,
Snoopy, you're introduced to.
yeah,
I
we're
generally
introduced to
don't like
Snoopy.
flashbacks.
Well, there's
least
a
not
lot of
too
time
many of
jumping in
them.
this film.
Yeah.
For the most part. Sorry, my notes are all over the board.
For me, it probably would have worked
The film
better
uses
if
a
they did
non-linear
that all
story structure to
first.
reveal Foley's backstory, including his time in prison with Chino and his relationship with wealthy inmate Richard Ripley, played by Albert Brooks. 2 years earlier, Foley and Buddy and Glenn were incarcerated at Lompoc Penitentiary, where Ripley bragged to Glenn about a cache of uncut diamonds hidden at the home in Detroit. Foley saved Ripley from being extorted by vicious criminal Maurice Snoopy Miller, played by Don Cheadle.
Also stupid. Why would you say something like that in prison ever to anyone?
People are dumb in general.
Dumb, yeah.
Like Devin, I challenge that. People are dumb in general. The amount of things that they tell people that they shouldn't without any prompting.
I guess. I don't know.
Just
I don't
imagine
think these
whose
characters
character
are the best written characters.
But just imagine he is an executive who practically married into wealth, bled
He's
the
a
woman
white-collar
dry,
criminal.
bled the woman dry, and set up his own business. Got caught, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he was probably bragging. Yeah.
I was gonna say I liked the scene where after the fixed fight, this guy's like gloating that he won a fixed fight, and they're like, "You shouldn't do that." It's
You're an
really
idiot.
dumb and dangerous.
Yeah.
Which ends up proving to be a thing because he gets shanked in the line. And this is the beginning of when Foley starts to help Albert Brooks' character out, and he's like, "Keep moving. We're not going to talk about this. We're just going to keep moving. That man's going to bleed to death, and we're going to keep moving."
You want them to ask you questions, I think is what he says. He's like, you don't want to answer no questions.
Yeah, so we basically go from like that like flashback scene to these guys walking to the hotel, and then you get this scene where you think, oh, she's caught up to them, and she's proceeded to track Foley down to the hotel that they're at. However, she knows this. Who knows? And she's coming into the steamy hot bedroom, gives him the eye, and basically like starts to bone him in the tub in the most uncomfortable way of having sex, only to wake up that she's in the hospital. And that's kind of where I was like, wait, how did she get to the hospital? And I think that's what threw me off. I think I was so confused by that. I didn't really pay attention to the fact that they showed a scene of how she got to the hospital.
It just the lovemaking was so intense in the uncomfortable bathtub that she hurt herself and hit her head.
Yeah, I was like, is that
It's
what
slippery in those
happened?
bathtubs.
It is slippery in those bathtubs.
It was
right on
a
the
little
faucet.
confusing. So yeah, basically we saw this whole scene where Don Cheadle is fleecing Ripley's character, a couple $100 for pillows, couple $1,000 for fish. Clooney comes to save the day.
He sicks his thug on him, number 39 in the penal code. Oh, number 39 out of what, 20?
Yeah, they had the other inmate, give him the heads up, break it up, you're out of here.
Got too excited with all this reading his fundamentals shit.
Apparently there's a line here where Jennifer Lopez says that doesn't look anything like Foley from this photo. Apparently this photo is actually from his Dusk Till Dawn film production.
Oh, it looks like it. Yeah.
So yeah, and then we get
Michael
introduced
Keaton, what a
to
waste of Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
It's not a waste technically.
It's not a waste, actually, Davin. When I looked into this,
waste.
apparently there's a reason for this. There's a whole reason.
I'd rather
for this.
Michael Keaton have played Jennifer Lopez's role.
Okay, it's going to be in the movie morsel, so I'm not going to mention it. But I do like the so Jennifer Lopez character Karen Cisco in another show of why she picks absolutely the best people to have a relationship with. She's in a relationship with Michael Keaton's Ray Nicolette, who is currently married, or sorry, separated, but still living in the same house.
Yeah, not separated, but not separated,
Yes.
separated but not divorced. No,
Yeah.
he's basically cheating. He's a cheating
So
scumbag.
Dennis does a great job of basically grilling him, and at the end of the sequence practically just shines light that he's still with his wife, and I love this whole exchange too as it's going on.
Yeah,
Anyways.
between Clooney and Jennifer Lopez, he's like, "Oh, I got your number" and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a surprise to see Keaton show up, and get the news broadcast that the one of the runaways for Chino has died, and then they start getting the idea that Adele or Chino might be looking for Adele, so.
She's there with a cigarette.
Oh no, this isn't your favorite scene. No, wait.
Where Chino finds out where Adele is, and
yeah,
confirms where she is with the Color Your World painter's outfit that he was wearing. I love that.
Yeah, dope. You know what? After seeing Guzman in this movie, I could get why he could be a decent Adam Gomez.
That's the character Luis Gomez played in like the first 20 movies he was in.
Yeah,
look at how good looking that man is. But like, look at how thin and like, oh, he's so handsome.
He's looking trim.
Such a handsome.
Looking trim.
It's a long time ago, though. To be fair,
so long time ago. Yeah, that was like 30, 20, some odd years ago. Getting there. God time. I'm lost in my notes. So yeah, basically,
in which we burn.
The police are closing in on Clooney and Ving Rhames' character Buddy, and they decide that there's nothing else that they can do. They need to head off to the actual heist, so they head off to Detroit. Karen Cisco's in tow, right? And
so in Detroit, Maurice plans to steal the diamonds with his brother-in-law Kenneth. That's when we're getting introduced to these characters.
One thing about this movie is they do a great job of really visually telling you where each place is. It is not Florida. It doesn't have the pinks and the fluorescent lights, the filter that was there. You have this metallic blue filter that's being used the moment that they step foot in Detroit. The blacks are a little darker and bluer.
Dingy, can we make Detroit look?
There's a bunch of POV shots I kind of skipped over, but there's at least a good 30-40 second POV intro shot of Detroit that Soderbergh had gone out and actually filmed himself.
Yeah,
on his 35th birthday of all days.
Yes,
so, yeah.
Elmer Leonard traditionally puts a lot of his books in Detroit. He was raised in Detroit, and therefore it is a major character for him.
He's the Stephen King of Detroit.
He is Stephen King referred to him as the great American author.
Well, I certainly wasn't saying Stephen King was that.
At this point, we're introduced to Kenneth, played by Isaiah
Shawshank
Washington,
Redemption.
and Maurice's henchman, White Boy Bob, who's played by Kenneth Lonergan.
Yeah, White Boy Bob.
White Boy Bob.
Yeah.
Watch the road.
Why call him White Boy? It's just like that's White Boy Bob. Like.
So yeah, they take a reluctant Glenn, who Maurice forces to help kill a rival drug dealer. Foley and Buddy eventually meet with Maurice and his crew at the boxing ring. And
Steve Zahn is so stupid. His character is so stupid.
Oh, yeah,
but I could believe that character.
Yeah, it's
very I did too, but it's just like man, you're swimming in a sea with sharks, and you are not a shark. Like, get out now. Get out of the
He's very
water.
much a guppy.
And like George Clooney pretends not to be a shark, but he is.
Yeah.
Just not a violent one. You know.
I love this. I love this scene because it's just like all of them are like not backing down. You just see how out of place Steve Zahn's character is. Right? It's just so great. No one's backing down. It's just like being in jail.
And they found somebody who actually makes Ving Rhames look small.
Yes.
White Boy Bob's a big boy. That's a big boy there. It's usually the role they'd give to a professional wrestler. Like Bam Bam Bigelow would have played that role like 6 years earlier.
Oh, he definitely would have. Yeah. So yeah, basically, Foley and Buddy agree with Maurice to team up and do the robbery. Following Foley to Detroit, Karen questions Maurice's wife, Mazel, played by Nancy Allen. Wait, no. What? No, that's
Midge is played by Nancy Allen.
Pidge is.
You're talking about Viola Davis.
Yeah, my notes got
Viola
mixed
Davis
up because earlier I had Midge and it was like Midge was Viola Davis. And I'm like, no, that's Nancy Allen, and I forgot to correct the Nancy Allen to Viola Davis. But yes,
There's
Viola
a lot of
Davis.
actors in this who are good in everything. She's one. Albert Brooks is one. George Clooney.
Oh, she's so amazing.
Strong actors.
And basically, she defends herself when Kenneth attempts to assault her because there's this whole interaction.
Which is
now, this
which
is
my,
leading up to Jameel's.
Are we not doing
now,
my favorite moment?
Oh no, this is your favorite moment.
Here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your favorite moment is the rapey guy.
No. It's I was thinking it's more specifically this.
Good bitches love
I think this is what
that
you're
is.
talking about.
You know what that is? What is? A bone. I'll give you a good bone.
I basically turned away from this scene. I found this kind of unwatchable.
No, that shit don't mean nothing to me. I let the monster out. You gonna do what it wants.
I gotta go, Kenneth. Maybe we'll see each other again sometime.
No. We gonna tussle first. Damn it! What the fuck was that?
You wanted to tussle. We tussled.
Love it.
The delivery of that line was her best line in the whole movie.
I found it odd when the screen just froze for a second. I was like, did my player just freeze? Oh no,
I didn't like those cuts. I didn't like those cuts.
I like those cuts.
Like a newspaper or whatever. Yeah,
I like those cuts.
I found them jarring in a couple of spots.
Timeouts.
Yeah.
Ripley's.
We're getting introduced.
I was expecting more mansiony, to be honest. But big house, nice house.
Well, technically, yeah, it is Ripley's place.
One of them probably has several.
Yeah. This is Detroit house.
Yeah, apparently
he didn't put his
this
biggest
was
house in
being built,
Detroit.
but the interior wasn't done yet until the film crew came through and they showed the interior, and then the people were like, "We really like your idea for the interior. Can we have the blueprints?" And then they made the film. They actually completed the house to look like the movie interior. It's the whole thing.
Yeah. I stand corrected. They do mention that he has a house in Florida as well. So, continue.
Okay. So yeah, we then get another time jump where then it's revealed that we're Foley, because he helps Ripley in prison. Ripley was going to offer him a job, but that job ended up being a security job, which he was not about. And this is his catalyst.
Ice cream for freaks.
Yeah, ice cream for freaks. Go the hard way. But that was his catalyst for basically heading off and robbing the bank that we saw in the opening scene with SunTrust. It then then this story cuts to Foley finds Karen at her hotel, where they proceed to share a romantic interlude at the bar and spend the night together. And you get this whole, apparently a lot of this dialogue during the scene was improvised.
It feels very natural to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to say to overall, because Davan will say, no, it feels so forced.
You just say they're clearly not skilled improvisers as actors. It's not like they had
So yeah, Glenn gets
it's not George Clooney's strong point. And
So
I don't think
the
Jennifer Lopez is a good actress.
So the night of the heist, Glenn decides to get cold feet, and he runs into Karen, who she decides to let him escape, but she's going to continue to tail Foley and the thieves as they force their way into Richardson's mansion.
So just to
God, they
clear-
should have switched her and Viola Davis's roles.
No.
Viola Davis should have played her.
No,
and then
I disagree.
Give Jennifer
Anyways,
Lopez the minor role.
the heist wasn't supposed to be tonight. The heist was supposed to be the following night, right?
Yes,
and
the following night, but they weren't.
what was happening is Buddy and Jack were going to meet up with Shades, and then leave from there and go directly to Ripley's. And then when when Shades left, it found out that Maurice had the exact same idea to do it early and do it the same night. So they all went together and proceeded to do the heist.
This is one of these cases where I enjoyed the movie more watching it. On the rewatch we're doing here in the discussion, I'm finding a lot of the things I didn't like out of it standing out more. Like, there's a lot of mirroring and foreshadowing in this movie. I know it's intentional. Like, she says she shoots her boyfriend, so again, she does it again later. And, like, same with what you were just talking about
how they were going to do the heist a day early, and then
a day earlier that happens in the prison break earlier. Like, yeah, they do a lot of that, which I don't think that. I think it was overdone. They did it too many times, where it becomes more like the style and the theme of the movie.
I could tell you about 10 or 15 more stuff. They clearly state where exactly the where the diamonds are going to be.
Because of the fish earlier.
Why does Maurice get why does he get fish? And what does Buddy say? Have you ever seen an uncut diamond? They just look like plain old rocks. Yep.
Yeah. A bit too much of that.
So yeah,
which I didn't notice as much of it on the first watch.
And that's the I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. That is the pace and the style of the movie at work. When you really stop and like dissect each moment down, it just becomes like it's holes. But when you present it with such a style and pace, right, it all flows together, and therefore you're just swept away with the movie.
Pacing saves this movie, but I prefer the pacing.
You say pacing saves this movie. Pacing is part of the plan of the movie. They're not going to like, Midge seems really good. Like, Midge is really good, so we're going to give her a 5-minute monologue and just have her talk,
I just meant, like, had the pacing been off, a lot of these holes would have stood out a lot worse. Like, the pacing kind of like
that's the difference between an okay movie and a great movie.
Good movie.
I'm sorry. You're correcting me when I didn't need to be corrected.
That's fair. We'll do that in the later.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Sorry, Murphy, continue, please.
Okay, so basically the whole crew has...
He acts like he doesn't expect this coming into every episode. But anyway, continue, Murphy.
Was that 5 minutes? Was that 5 seconds?
No, I definitely only waited 3 or 4 that time.
Okay, sorry.
Fair ball.
Murphy,
fair ball.
I'm going to mute myself. Continue.
Me too.
It's not you I got to worry about who's muted. It's him. It's him.
Actually, I'll be right back. So continue.
God. Anyway,
now's your chance.
Yeah, I know. Let's see if I can actually get through this plot synopsis. So yeah, the mansion has been broken into by everybody. This actually is leading to my favorite scene between Kenneth and Midge while they're breaking through. Sadly, he's not going to be here for that, but whatever.
Ken, stop fucking with the radio, man. Put on a CD.
I don't recognize none of these bands, Mo.
Just pick somebody.
Well, how does it seem like Michael Bolton?
Michael Bolton. The way he looks at him, I'm just like defeated. He's just, don't make me shoot you.
I like Schubert.
I like Schubert.
Schubert? Well, I don't.
I don't. That scene, it broke me so hard when I saw that. I'm involved with a lot of classical music in my general profession, and it's just like, Schubert, well, I don't. I died. That was right in my wheelhouse of comedy, that was.
Have we gone to Davin's scene that holds up, or is there none?
No, it was the very first scene. That was his scene. That
Oh
held
yeah,
up.
yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Continue.
So yeah, this is basically at this point things are starting to go downhill. We got Big Bob taking steaks from the fridge, and Clooney's basically finding Richardson in a closet with a hard line and grills him about everything. So basically, while Maurice and his crew are struggling to shoot open the safe upstairs, Richardson, Foley, and Buddy find Richardson hiding in his study and discover the diamonds are actually hidden in the fish tank. Midge actually gives these guys the lock so they can open it to find out there's wigs inside of it, which was pretty funny. I was like, ha. It's all full of wigs. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that the diamonds were going to be in the tank. I like that. I thought that was a smart play. And a good reveal. But yeah, Richard didn't want to leave because he's in love with Midge and refuses to leave without her. Because of that, he's captured by Maurice because these guys, Buddy and Foley, they grab the diamonds and they're about to dip. But that's when Foley has the second conscious and he's like, okay, well, but, Buddy, you take the diamonds, you head away. And he's going to go back with Buddy's gun.
Fellas.
And gets into it
Nature
with...
calls.
Yeah, no worries. I've been holding it.
And then I had to freshen up my free beer. I would never buy it. It's Budweiser. I hear it turns you gay or something, but, we'll find out.
Okay. Oddly. Anyway, so Foley finds Buddy, sends him away. Foley ends in, and, Maurice and Big Boy have got Richardson, but Foley goes to Kenneth as basically Kenneth's attempting to rape Midge at this point. But
what I want to know is, what's the frequency, Kenneth?
What's the frequency, Kenneth? Well, 2-barrel shot.
Jameel's jamming out to it.
So yeah, he goes to reach for his pistol. Midge throws the blank gun on him, and that's when Foley goes for the kill shot, which was pretty cool. It was good comeuppance.
Kill all the rapists. That's what I say.
Yep. He's basically Foley escapes this shooting, and he's about to head on his way out when Big Boy Bob holds him up, and you think Big Boy Bob's gonna get it, but he ultimately trips and falls and blows his own brains out. Which apparently
that was a bit much, but it got a chuckle out of me. But I'm like, I don't know.
Apparently, you're not the only one that got a chuckle out of it. Apparently,
Jaemeel, you're still muted.
Audience.
Yeah, foreshadowed repeatedly. Every single time he goes up the stairs, he trips.
He falls. I did notice that.
Yeah.
That foreshadowing works because it helps the joke. I didn't mind that.
And he's like, okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So
and
yeah,
one of the most realistic shootouts I've seen in a modern picture, because people don't know how to shoot, right? Really, realistically, people are terrible shots unless you're there at a range or you're properly like thing. No one's gonna be like shooting someone, and hit them.
Yet not too far on the other end. Like even a 4-year-old can shoot better than a stormtrooper, for example. Like
yes,
it's going too far the other way where no one can hit anything, and it's just like, what are we even doing here?
Well, they start fighting, and they fight like two people who are in a real street fight, which is once it gets to the ground, it just becomes an ugly mess of just bodies just jockeying for position.
And every street fight eventually hits the ground
at this point. Yeah, they go for the guns that are basically in dead hands of each. Clooney goes for the one in Kenneth, and Maurice goes for the one in Big Boy. I did like the shot where he pulls up. Big Boy's
blood
covered
gun.
in blood, just completely covered in blood. There's like a big.
I didn't even notice that. That is gruesome, though.
Yeah, and then
would it even fire? That's
a good question. I don't know. I don't know. It probably would get one round off.
It's pretty gummed up.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, Lopez's character Karen comes in and enters the shootout with Maurice, who attempts to shoot her. She kills him in self-defense.
I mean,
which is the difference between like someone who's actually trained. You see like pinpoint accuracy, 3 shots straight to the chest.
Just like boop boop boop.
And accuracy later when she wants to hit George Clooney's leg and does.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Basically
Good shot
wrapping it up
there.
here. Foley points a gun at Karen because he's not willing to return to prison, but she's like, "It's too bad." Gives him a shot in the leg, handcuffs him. He was begging to kill her because he doesn't want to return. But yeah, he gets arrested either way. And the movie basically ends around this point. Ving Rhames gets away with the diamonds, and Karen is escorting Foley to Glade's prison, but they're joined by another detainee, which is...
Did you guys show and talk about the fish tank when I was away?
Yes.
Yes.
I did like
Hajira
that.
Henry's
It was a nice
Samuel
little
L. Jackson.
piece of scenery. I do like fish tanks.
Yeah, it was a good reveal of the fish tanks. But yeah, we get a cameo from Samuel L. Jackson at the very end, who
Which I
mentions
didn't
he's
like.
already
So
escaped
weird.
from prisons
It's like
9
I didn't
times.
like-
what? We're getting Samuel L. Jackson for 30 seconds? I'm like, okay, I'll take it, but
I didn't like it.
weird. No, too
Yeah.
jarring.
I'll tell you why when we get to the movie morsels.
Just give me one hot second here. So yeah, Jackson basically mentions that he's escaped prison 9 times, and he's wondering why they jammed them in the same van. And George Clooney's like, we probably have some things to talk about. Karen smiles and they drive away, and that's the end of the damn movie. It really opened
Thank
it
you
up
for your
some sort of
patience.
sequel.
There's no sequel.
Clearly,
Although
I mean,
there's a
TV remake.
There's a sequel book. Well, Jack Foley appears in a different book called Road Dogs.
keep talking about
Yeah.
it.
And Karen Sisco has her own TV show spinoff without Lopez. It's not Jennifer Lopez.
The character is even worse than her portrayal of the character. I just don't like. It's like the Pink Panther again. Her character doesn't deserve a sequel, and that movie didn't deserve 8 sequels. It's like
I disagree. I love Karen.
I think you might have a little rose-colored glasses on when it comes to this movie, there, Jaemeel. At least her part in it, because I don't know, man. It was wooden. Her portrayal was so wooden.
I didn't find that to be the case.
mean,
I
she's
tried. Sorry.
But she's pretty. I'll give her that.
Not even that. Maybe it's the archetype that I like, where it's like she's struggling to find her place in this world, this male dominated world. So even though she does not necessarily connect as well with women, she has a really great relationship with her father. Does her father treat her like a boy? Not really, but kind of. It's like
he treats her like a mini version of him. Like he's a cop too.
Like the
right?
next
Like,
in line. Well, he was a cop, and
yeah,
now he's
so,
a private investigator, I believe. He turns into a bail bondsman. Bail bondsman. Bail bondsman.
Bail
Jeez.
bondsman. Bail
Yes.
bondsman. Like in Jackie Brown.
Like in Jackie Brown, Robert Forrester plays a bail bondsman, and he plays her father in the TV show. Yeah, it's. I'm just stalling until Murphy comes back because I don't want to say too much because I don't want to.
That's a perfect segue. That's a perfect segue into. The movie morsels for our 1998 film Out of Sight. Jennifer Lopez.
To be fair, we do usually do a couple things before the morsels, but go ahead.
We're just gonna do this real quick.
We'll go straight to the morsels.
It's because there's so much that we want to discuss more. This will help. So movie morsels for Out of Sight 1998. Jennifer Lopez's role as Karen Sisco was originally offered to several other actresses, including Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman. Before Lopez auditioned and won the part. I thought there was going to be more names.
I will say, I don't think Kidman would have done it any better, but Sandra Bullock, way better actor than
They said that Sandra Bullock and George Clooney had chemistry together, but not chemistry for the character.
So Sandra Bullock almost got the part of Karen Sisco, but director Steven Soderbergh was against it. He said, I spent some time with Clooney and Bullock, and they actually did have a great chemistry, but it was for the wrong movie. I'm sure they could do a movie together, but not an Elmore Leonard movie. Clooney and Bullock
understand
appeared
what he was
Gravity.
looking for that character. Then I don't get it. Like, you don't want charisma, you don't want personality.
It's
Like,
not the type of charisma that you want for that character, though.
she's a little more comedic. Sandra Bullock
Yes,
oftentimes.
very much so. Especially during that time, she wasn't necessarily thought of as an action to handle the action.
Congeniality probably came out.
That was after that, though. That was after that, though. That was she was still in the net and while you were
Speed.
sleeping and Speed. Yeah.
So Clooney and Bullock appeared in Gravity in 2013. Bullock would also appear in Ocean's 8 in 2018.
Oh yeah, they were in Gravity together. Right,
Yeah,
I forgot about that movie.
And yeah, Ocean's 8.
Where she played
in
his
2018, which
she
is a
plays
spin-off
his
of the Cody
sister.
Soderbergh Ocean's franchise.
I have to turn off my science brain to watch Gravity. I'll tell you that.
But in Ocean's 8, she plays George Clooney's sister.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any of those Ocean's movies.
Yeah, it's a damn shame we didn't get it for heists.
Wow, we could have watched Ocean's 11 for the heist movies. So the
Anyways,
trunk scene.
I had to go old because I knew you guys weren't good. I had to dig a little older. Yeah,
you could have picked Ocean's 11,
school,
1963.
Yeah.
Oh, the original. Yeah, I
Yes.
could have. Yeah, good.
I would
point.
have been down for that. Anyway,
But I was Peter Sellers, man. Oh well.
Wasted. So yeah, the trunk scene where Jack and Karen are trapped in the trunk of a car was shot on location in a real trunk, where the actors actually locked inside for much of the scene. 45 times, however, the film was seen 45 times. However, none of these takes were used in the final cut, as the test audience disliked the long single take. The scene as it appears in the movie was a reshoot, and the original long take is available in the DVD extras.
Yeah. No, the problem with that scene is that scene. It's not that 44 out of 45 of them were bad. It's that 45 out of 45 of them were bad, and they had to use one of them.
They had to redo one of them entirely.
Yeah. We'll take Devin's word on that because he's seen all 45 different takes.
No, but if the 44, if that was the good one in the test
That
audience,
wasn't the good one. That was the one
44.
that the test audiences liked. Please don't confuse what test audience agreed to. Okay,
Fair.
I'm just saying.
That's a fair.
I can take your arguments about how you feel that the final cut of that sequence doesn't necessarily play and seems very quick in terms of trying to bond the two characters together.
And the hanging of the lantern on it is offensive because they think that excuses it and it makes it better. And I hate when they do that.
I want the morsels to get through so we can have a little bit more of a discussion when it holds up.
So the film's climactic bank house sequence was shot in the same Detroit bank used in the classic heist film, The Thomas Crown Affair.
Oh, yes.
Elmer Leonard envisioned Jack Nicholson or Sir Sean Connery as Jack Foley when he sold the film rights to his novel. So we could have had Jack Nicholson or Sean Connery instead of Clooney.
Jeez. Too old.
No, thank
you.
you.
Too old.
Yeah.
Even
Both
in
of them
98.
too old. Yeah.
And Michael Keaton reprised his role as Ray Nicolette.
Keaton could have played that role.
Cameo. He originally played him in another Elmore Leonard novel adapted film, Jackie Brown from 1997. Samuel L. Jackson.
Jackie Brown was Elmore Leonard?
Yes.
Did their cameos.
Jackie Brown's one of my favorite movies. I love Jackie Brown.
Well, the original,
is like 10
the original book is called Rum Punch. Ray Nicolette is in that, which Michael Keaton plays. It was in production. It was being made just as Out of Sight started production. So
that's where that. Right,
yes. So that's why. And I don't know if you were going to mention this, but Quentin Tarantino convinced Miramax to not charge Universal for Ray Nicolette's appearance because they could have, but he thought, just do
the Dusk Till
favor.
Dawn, right? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
And Samuel Jackson and Michael Keaton did both of their cameos free of charge. The cinematography was by Elliot Davis. It was edited by Ann V. Coates. David Holmes did the music.
Okay.
And
are we not okay?
Hang on.
We gave Henry. Go ahead. I'll let you.
Release date of June 26, 1998. A running time of 123 minutes. A budget of $48 million with a box office of $77.7 million. Those are my movie morsels. Do we have any spare change from Jaemeel?
We got some spare change.
Not really. You can take it down.
Well,
I want to talk about
take it
like
down, taking it down.
we gave Henry Mancini his flowers. David Holmes, Irish DJ David Holmes, kills it with this score. This score is
picking
amazing.
Other people's songs.
Sorry?
Like the best song in this was by the Isley Brothers.
Dude, I strongly disagree.
You think there was a song in this better than the Isley Brothers?
Yes, I agree. No More Timeouts. That theme that was played at the end. You have the trunk scene music that is played throughout the whole.
I'm talking about the Isley Brothers, Jaemeel. Maybe
yes,
I'm biased.
I
They're one of
do
my
hear you
favorite
in terms
bands
of the
ever,
Isley
and
Brothers,
I've seen them
right?
live.
I'm talking about
the Isley
Foley's
Brothers,
theme,
man.
the Foley's theme that plays. You know when you have the I think you flooded it, right? There is
but not the Isley Brothers.
I'm sorry.
Here,
This is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. David Holmes is one of my favorite composers for soundtracks. This was his jumping off point into doing a ton of stuff, especially with Sonnenberg. He did the Oceans movies. David Holmes should have a case of Oscars, right, with his work in terms of score work. He is brilliant, and he does not get enough credit. I'm here to give this man his flowers. David Holmes.
It sounded like spare change to me.
It sounded like some spare change.
Okay.
All right.
We can proceed.
No. All right. So back to what do you think of the plot and storytelling here, fellas?
I
think
really
it's fine.
enjoyed the plot and storytelling. Yeah, I
There's
enjoyed
the strength.
It took me.
I liked the plot better than the storytelling.
I enjoyed both. I enjoyed the way it was paced. It was excellently paced film. Like excellently paced. There wasn't a scene that didn't feel too long or too short. Everything was really cohesive. Everything was well connected. And the time jumping, although it threw me off at first, once I got into it, I was like, okay, cool. And when it was well done, great.
I think the storytelling
too connected, but because all the
I think the storytelling,
and all that.
The plot. If we just break down the plot, it's not really great. I think how they detail, like how they present the story, is really what makes it work, right? And that's in the editing, right?
And the quality actors they have.
Yeah. So how they tell the plot, how they tell the story, I think is a lot stronger than just the plot itself.
Yeah, all my problems with the plot and story all center around Jennifer Lopez. And a bit too much foreshadowing, and I don't really like flashbacks. But
Okay,
I can
fair
accept
enough.
a couple because movies use them. But
The movie uses it a lot.
I prefer a linear. Like there's a way you can do that linearly. You can still just put the before stuff.
Do you like Memento?
I mean, I would never rush to go watch it again. But when I've seen it once and I did enjoy it.
Fair enough.
But it's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
But like I saw it when it came out and haven't seen it since.
Okay.
Which performance would you hold up?
I know Davan wants to say Jennifer Lopez.
No, I don't. I would literally remove her and her character from this movie and find a way to still make the movie.
Okay,
But,
go ahead.
I guess it's
I'm gonna
Clooney
say
and
for me,
Cheadle.
For you, Don Cheadle, really?
Yeah,
he acted it well. I hated his character, but he
accomplished the goal.
He's good in everything. John Cheadle's good in everything.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Cheadle for sure. Yeah, like it was either Cheadle or Clooney. But like
shout out to Steve Zahn though.
Yeah, Steve Zahn is good
Steve
too.
Zahn did great. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to give it to Clooney as well. That's no slight against Jennifer Lopez's Karen Sisco. I just feel like Jack Foley is a classic character that you are just enamored with as it goes on. He is the perfect example of as they say, gentleman bank robber. You know,
He's a
the
charming
thief with
guy.
honor. Yeah, the thief with honor.
He can rob 200 banks without a gun.
He's just a lot of great movies like with him in it. Like I love Who Brother Where Art Thou.
I love that movie too. I love that movie too. Another movie where it does not get the credit that it deserves. Such a brilliant film.
And
Anyways,
people don't realize it's like a retelling of Homer's Odyssey.
yeah, yeah,
Like people don't get that either.
yeah.
But I
Also,
love
the
that
guy
movie.
that
I could
does
go on
the
and on
like
about that movie.
that does the voice of George Clooney's like musical voice, his actual discography is really good. His name escapes me at this
Isn't it the
moment.
Soggy Bottom Boys?
The Soggy Bottom Boys is there's an actual like
Actual singer.
bluegrass singer that's behind that band, and he has got a whole discography that's really solid.
Yeah.
And
I love that
just-
soundtrack. I love that soundtrack.
Oh, it's great. I mean, they even have a Robert Johnson character in that movie. That's a great movie. Well, we all know I'm a fan of Robert Johnson.
Yes. And you can listen to Davin's thoughts about Robert Johnson on Aiming on Track.
But if you'd like to hear me defend Robert Johnson against Eamon and his father Dave, tune into Eamon on Track.
They're waiting for me to do an episode, and I haven't decided what.
You gotta have to come in with a heavy hitter.
Oh,
I
you're
got
better
the-
than that show
the
for
top
me.
bar.
My tastes in music don't really translate well to a show like that.
I think we're in the same boat, just different music.
Yeah, likely.
Okay.
Setting aesthetic.
I love it. I love the way this film is shot, the different places, and they do a great job of making it feel different. Chicago feels very different than Miami, Florida. Even the different jails seem different.
I was going to say that prison didn't feel very prisony at times. Like they all were just like left alone, and the rooms were nice. Like
I just feel that's like Foley's point of view on the matter, where like jail wasn't necessarily tough. He just didn't want to be there. Yeah.
He
just
was
didn't
like
wanna
the
be there.
smartest guy there. He was
Yeah.
like able to manipulate people, and
There was
like,
no
it's funny, he's
danger
like,
for
I'm
him.
not going back there. Prison's so hard, but for him it was actually kind of easy. But he's
Yeah.
just not the kind of guy who would, tolerate such an environment. Rewatchability. Jaemeel, obviously. Well, you go first.
I own it on VHS. I own it on DVD. I own it on HD DVD. I haven't bought the Blu-ray yet because I keep hoping that they're going to do a special edition Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray.
Special edition, not just.
That's how it is nowadays, right? I love this movie. Rewatchability, rereadability, re-listenability.
I could probably rewatch this film again. I think it has rewatchability. What question I want to ask Jaemeel is, what was your initial introduction to this film? Like, what was it that
drew me to it? Because the trailer
Yeah.
sucks so much.
Yeah.
In actuality, I saw this movie technically for free. There was a friend of mine that worked for Cineplex, and we would constantly go to free movies, and it just so happens it was being released, and I went to it, and I was immediately hooked on it. Got the book. I went to the library, and I kept borrowing the soundtrack over and over again. Because kids, it wasn't like I could just go on, the computer and just listen to it. I actually had to get the album, and trying to find the album in stores wasn't necessarily easy because it wasn't some, pop artist, right? It was a
Those
very
stores didn't bring in many soundtracks, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's like they
So
bring
it's
in
very
like the couple of hit movies.
Yeah. So
They sell you 5,000 copies of the Titanic soundtrack, but they
don't get me started. In 1997 was tough. Okay.
Yeah, it was. You'll never understand, kids, what we went through in 1997.
DiCaprio was everywhere. It was the height of ship sensation.
Yes. You know what? I'll leave that story aside, my Titanic story aside. Anyways,
Another
next
day.
piece.
All right. Well, rewatchability for me.
I think it's going to be tough for you because, especially with this
I
deep
would
dive
watch
into it. With this deep dive, you're going to be picking out.
I would rewatch it because, well, where rewatchability usually comes from for me is there has to be something super right up my alley, like Medicine Man, or it just has to be filled with like great actors that give good performances, which
Did you
this does
purposely
have.
say Medicine
Man? It's one of my favorite movies. Well, it's like, as we discussed on that episode, like that was a life-changing movie for me.
Yes. Kiss and
Biodiversity is
All.
my cause. That movie's about. I blocked that out of my mind because to me that movie
I'm
is
sorry,
not
I'm never
about
gonna
that.
let that go.
That's fine. Like, I thought it was a hug. I always remembered that as a hug, not a kiss. But
Fair enough.
yeah. But the worst part of that movie is the last 5 seconds. But a great movie.
Fair
And
enough.
a great cause, which is biodiversity. Get it together, people. Monocultures. So yeah, I'd watch this movie again. Why not?
Oh.
Not for a while, but like 10 years from now, maybe.
Okay.
20 years from now, sure. Because
When you do, I want you to pay attention to the score.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, I paid attention to the Isley brothers.
the rest of the score. Look, sorry, I'll be quick because I'm looking at the time. The soundtrack does a really good job of really taking you on a narrative journey of the movie, right? So it's one of the few albums that have dialogue pieces, but it just uses it to tie the sounds together, and it really makes everything stand out. So I cannot tell you that I love this score because I watched the movie, as opposed to because I watched the movie and then I re-experienced the movie through the soundtrack score and then watched the movie again. So it just highlights it and I remember it more. So to be fair, I want to be fair to my love and my passion to it. Might not be just from the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want from a score. It should, elevate scenes. If the music isn't elevating the scene, then don't put the music in. Does it hold up? Yeah, it does. I will say it does. Like, it feels like it. I mean, it's not that old. It's basically a modern movie, but like not in the bad way. Which normally when I say modern movie, that's a slight. But like it has modern pacing and yeah, I like it. Good movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Watch your step, Murphy.
It holds
Watch
up
your
for
step,
me.
Murphy. Yes.
It holds up for me. It's gonna hold up for me. Like,
Murphy
I
was gonna say
enjoying
no.
watching this film.
He was higher on it than I was.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no, like I said, like the pacing in this film was great. There wasn't a moment I didn't feel bored. In the first 5 minutes, it was a way better film than Pink Panther was, and I was like, okay, now this is a heist film I can get behind. Every character I was into. There was that level of mid to late 90s characterization of a human being that's slightly absurd, but not too absurd that it's completely unbelievable. Like
If they made this movie today, it'd be a slapstick comedy.
Yeah, it felt like a little slapstick if you were to try to and make it today, but because it's 98, like the most absurd, almost out there character is Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn.
Yeah,
maybe not slapstick, but nowadays they would have cast a Sandra Bullock.
They would have white boy Bob falling all over the place.
Oh yeah. Well, they did do
Boy
that.
Bob and fall all
No,
over.
they would have
all over the place.
They probably would have Aubrey Plaza in the role of like Jennifer Lopez or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah, probably. And that that's one of my biggest, again back to my thesis for this podcast. What you're saying there is very true. Movies, very modern movies and modern television treat their audiences like they're stupid. So they would have had to make everything very more clear. Bob would have fell down more. Everything would have been done more that they want you to
There'd
pick
be
up
a
on,
sequence
because they
where
would
this
think
is
you
the
were
plan.
stupid.
This is the plan, and then they'll break down the plan. It's like, keep in mind, this is happening. We don't know where it is.
No, hang on. They did have a sequence like that, but it wasn't the plan. It was George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez talking about how they're gonna have sex. And then they would interject it between scenes of them like talking about it and them actually doing it. So that was kind of like
one of the underrated sequences is where she questions is he gonna go and tell people that he slept with a federal agent, right? And he's like, well, do you think you're gonna? Do I think you're gonna do that? It's like most bank robbers are dumb, right? And am I gonna
Yeah.
be right? That whole questioning is like, I don't think you're stupid, right?
And he's
So
like, most of those turds don't even realize the ink's gonna blow up. Like,
yeah.
he's like, they don't even know. But,
So
yeah.
yeah. Okay. I'm very happy that it's in the top tier.
A category. Yeah, man. We got an A movie out of that. You're welcome. I could have let Jennifer Lopez really cloud my rating, but I didn't.
She's
Okay.
nothing more than a thorn in Davin's lion's paw of this
Basically.
movie.
She was a
Until he
thorn
gets
in
to
my
Hustlers,
butt.
until he reviews Hustlers.
What's Hustlers?
It's a Jennifer Lopez movie that she almost won awards for.
Really?
Razzies,
Well,
wasn't it?
maybe we'll give it a shot. Maybe
Yeah.
Razzies. Very funny. All right. Well, why don't we move on to theater 3 then, fellas?
Okay.
I
This
think
synopsis.
we're gonna have fireworks here, fellas. Anyway, this is, man, I'm telling you, I interpret movies way different than everybody else on this podcast.
This
I'm
synopsis should have
interested
been
to
like
hear
should be
everyone's
like
thought
5
about
minutes
this
max.
film. You know what? There's not a lot to it.
I agree.
5 minutes max. Yeah, it might be it. We'll see.
In
I got
theater
way
3.
less. I got way less screenshots for this. But yeah, sorry, Davan. Go ahead. Theater 3.
Victoria from 2015, a German film starring Laia Costa, Franz Rogowski, Frederick Lau, and Barak Yajit. Directed by Sebastian Schipper.
Super.
All right, fire up the trailer there, Murphy.
So
Fire it
yeah, let's fire it up to
Fire it up.
Another trailer where they show the ending scene. Huh.
I don't speak German.
What you do now?
I'm leaving.
Man gehört der Club uns.
Stay, this club will be ours.
Meine Sonne, nice to meet you. That's boxer. And that's
Happy
blinker.
birthday. You're very nice then.
I'll show you our world.
Are you stealing? You touched my ass. Say sorry. With a heart.
Sorry.
Sonnen was such a
I have to do boxer a favor.
It's something bad to do. Boxer! The car is not going on! The car is not going on! I want to go with you.
Was ist denn das für eine Scheiße? Spricht kein Deutsch?
Don't think I'm a bad guy, okay? Mann! Boxer, was ist das für eine Scheiße, Mann?
What is this shit,
Hey,
man?
Scheiße!
One take.
Nobody talks in Germany in the elevator. It's forbidden.
I'm gonna break the rules. I'm gonna break the rules. I'm glad to be here in Berlin.
Yeah. So I picked
Murphy,
this film.
Murphy, I'm glad you did. Is your mind securely fastened?
Yes.
Because I might blow it.
Okay.
This is the best movie we've had on this podcast since Good Night and Good Luck, easily.
Wow. Wow. Really?
Yeah, I loved this movie.
That's
Holy shit.
amazing. That's amazing.
He was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I mean, not for the first 30 minutes, but I wasn't bored by that.
Like I said, the first 30 minutes you could probably skip this film a bit.
I liked the
first
first 30
30
minutes.
It could have, a little, but like the last hour of this film was like I was on the edge of my seat.
What I liked about the first 30 minutes is it was like quietly sinister, because it always seemed like one of these guys was like about to break bad on her, or like, and it never happened. It never happened. It's not like they just kept delaying it. It never happened. Well, I mean, the whole crew breaks bad at one point, but it's like they're kind of forced into a situation by their buddy Boxer. But no, I loved this movie.
So, okay, so just to preface, I ended up picking this film. I was gonna pick Logan Lucky, and we would have had another Soderbergh film. And Jameel's very disappointed that we didn't go with Logan Lucky, and I could have got see it.
I could have got Ocean's 11, Out of Sight, and Logan Lucky, and I would have been like a pig in shit, and for it to be just taken from me. Oh my God.
Pig and shit doesn't exist on this podcast.
To be fair,
we have ups and downs.
I'm also disappointed too, Jaemeel, because the one film I felt like we should have viewed for this episode was Heat. The fact that we didn't review Heat for this is a slap in the face.
The thing is, like,
the heist movie.
I've seen Heat so many times, and it's so good. I don't know. That movie's a bit overplayed.
Thank you, Davan.
It was on TV all the time. Like, it was just on constantly. Movie and everything.
But yeah, no, my good friend Doa Zaren, a good friend of mine from Anakar, Turkey, he suggested this film Victoria because he told me about how it's one take from beginning to end, doesn't stop, and they did it on their third try. And I was like, I have to see this. I need to witness this film. And I've been eagerly anticipating this film since we started this podcast. It's been on the list for a long time, and I was very happy with the results.
It felt real. It felt real, like other than a bunch of overpaid actors playing like characters, like Out of Sight was. Like,
dude!
This felt real.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna say this.
I was immersed in this world and in this story, where I wasn't taken out of it by flashbacks in Jennifer Lopez's bad acting.
This movie was immersive. Was it better acted than Out of Sight? No, Out of Sight was far better acted.
It was more realistically acted.
It was more realistically acted, but that's only because
they felt like real people. No one feels real in Out of Sight.
When you say real people, you mean like real as in, if I took someone off the street and I gave them a script in their hands, that type of real, sure. But like real person, like a real, like living, breathing person, no way. No way.
Oh, the main character just feels like a real naive young woman.
With what? No way. No. She
makes some bad calls. She makes some bad calls.
She makes some bad calls. She didn't make
so
a
many
right
bad
call
calls.
for the entire film.
Agreed.
He is an absolute inept character. All the stuff you're talking about Jennifer Lopez's Karen Cisco and how none of that made sense. This movie.
She's a disgrace to the name Cisco, Jaemeel. The name Cisco is meant for greatness and greatness only, and that's not what we got. Okay?
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Like, so the movie.
Sorry.
When you start the synopsis, talk about the seizure-inducing opening of this film.
Okay, that was rough.
Oh, like that party or whatever?
The
party.
Yeah.
Or wherever they were, a bar or whatever.
Yeah, it was a club.
It was an underground club, like legitimately underground. But yeah, the opening.
I would say the first 10 minutes was unnecessary. You told me to skip the first 30, Murphy, but I feel like it was just like the first.
And I told you, I
think,
told you against it.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you were right.
Well, okay. Before we get too into this, Jaemeel, what are your initial thoughts?
Why are you so down on this? I'm surprised.
This movie. I don't even want to say I dislike it. I hated this movie. Why?
Wow.
So, you know what? I like the idea of doing something because you're really trying to push the envelope in terms of like storytelling. But this didn't need to be one take. Didn't.
No, it didn't.
It was just
honestly, I didn't notice that it was.
Oh, I noticed it.
Made cuts.
I noticed it.
I noticed it.
I noticed it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find it distracting.
You noticed it like
it wasn't necessary.
You noticed the little breaks of the characters.
Davan, you've said before in episodes where it's like the shaky cam could be too much, and there was a fair amount of shaky cam in this film.
When did I say shaky cam was too much?
I think it was
Insert
during the.
clips of Devin saying shaky cam is too much, please.
I specifically think it was during the 1917 review. You talked about the shaky cam being too much distracting.
1917.
I believe you did say that in 1917.
Yeah.
I did love that movie, but yeah, I mean, there were times in that where I was a bit jumpy because, like, if the scam's shaking so much, where it's harder for me to see what's going on, and I don't really like it. I, I, I like shaky cam better than spinny cam.
Oh,
Like
God.
directors or people that think they're so clever by spinning the scene around. Like, oh my god,
Like with anything, you can do something in moderation. So if you do a shaky cam in moderation, makes sense. It's jarring. It's supposed to induce a feeling. Same thing with the spinny cam. But if you do it like 8 rotations and you do it multiple times throughout the
Yeah.
movie, loses all intense, all
And
of
there are
its
movies
purpose.
now where they do like 20 rotations on the shaky
Yeah.
or on the spinny cam, and it's like, what are you doing? You're trying to make me puke?
House of the Dead. If you ever
Oh,
see
did
that
I do
movie.
that bad? I haven't.
It's really
Speaking of
bad.
puking, Victoria's opening scene is strobe inducing, and if you have a seizure, you got to talk to the director about that.
I laughed my
But
ass off though, where she's trying to pick up this bartender, and if you actually
do you
see
want to
that
drink?
bartender's face, like that bartender is clearly banging the owner of this bar. It's not going well. He hates being there. Like it's written all over his face, and she's just like, "Hey, where are you from, Sweden?" Like trying to get this conversation going with him, and it's just like, dude, can you not look at this guy's face and see how miserable he is and how he does not want to be there? That made me laugh. Like that is real.
Do you want
I
to
felt like those things
schnapps?
were real. Yeah, do you want to schnapps?
So yeah, Victoria is a 2015 German drama film directed by Sebastian Schipper. The film stars Lycos as Victoria, Frederick Lau as Sonne, Franz Rogowski as Boxer, Barak Yigit as Blinker, and Maximov as Faust. The film follows the story of Victoria, a young Spanish woman living in Berlin who decides to leave a club at 4 a.m. She's apparently recently new to Berlin, so she's a bit lost. So that's why she's kind of like, "Do you want to hang out?" She seems very like just looking for adventure because she's new to the city, basically.
She
At the
wants
door,
to meet
that's
some
what-
real Berlin guys.
yeah, yeah,
Real Berlin guys.
So yeah, she leaves the club at 4 a.m. And at the
She
door,
goes
that's
to the
where she
bathroom and
meets.
she doesn't actually go to the bathroom.
Well, yeah, because
Like
she
the
tries to like go to the bathroom, but cuts the line, and she's probably like, "No, you should." And then she never does go to the bathroom for the next 2 hours. That's a good point.
That is for like the next day. Yeah, fair enough. On the bathroom part.
So yeah, that's where she meets Sonnen and his friends Boxer, Blinker, and Fuss.
Who can't enter the club.
Yeah, they can't enter the club because they're drunken delinquents. Sonnen asks Victoria to join them for a drink. She sort of hems and haws, but ultimately she agrees. That's
okay. Yes, Jaemeel, you're right. Her character is disastrously
naive.
They explain it a bit, where like she has never even had a friend, so she's just like desperate. For a friend.
How does she have keys to this cafe? Like
she works there.
She works at the cafe, doesn't she?
She works at the cafe.
How can if you spend 5 minutes with this person, there's no way I can give her.
See. Why is she the key holder? Yeah,
it makes no sense. It's like, is this my car? Oh, you don't have keys to the car, and then she opens
she sees
the
these
door.
guys. Yeah, she sees these guys stealing a car. And
yeah, start. You guys,
like, maybe that's the clue you need.
That's
that
your car. Is
these
it?
aren't the guys. But
yeah, this movie is a perfect example of why you shouldn't, when leaving a club, just randomly hang out with the 4 drunk guys that are trying to invite you out for a good time. This is a clear-cut example of why you shouldn't do these things.
Look,
it's a cautionary tale.
Okay,
to rein in your need for excitement and danger.
My issue with her character, or what I wanted from this character, I wanted the character to be like not naive necessarily, right? But to be playful, but to have an edge to her.
She was playful. She was playful.
No, she was more in the like push over naive, and not like they kind of hint at it, right? When the piano.
She takes her agency when they're like, "No, we're gonna drop you off back at the cafe." She's just like, "No, I'm going with you guys." Like Eventually, she starts making the
No,
decisions for herself.
they kind of mention it when after the piano's playing and he talks about the devil, and she's like, oh, I don't know the exact remember the wording, but she's like,
Mephisto
I'm a fan.
Waltz.
Yeah, the devil
The
too.
devil, a fan of the
Yeah.
devil too.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's all three of our favorite scenes. So why don't we just play that scene?
Did we all three pick that?
We kind of
I
all
picked
three
it.
picked the same scene. So yeah. So anyway,
It
Son
was
and
a
Victoria.
great scene. Great scene.
Son and Victoria try to go to. They want to go buy some beer, but the clerk is sleeping, so they just straight up do the old fashioned. Let's
Farouk!
just pocket a few.
Hey, Farouk!
Farouk, wake up! He won't wake up. I don't know. I don't know if he's sleeping or if he might
He's
actually be dead.
I think he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't think he's dead.
So yeah, Son decides to walk out slowly with the beer. Then they go to a rooftop where she's like, "All right, let's go hang out on a rooftop," and she gets to know the boys. We get a slight hint of the polizzi, as they're being a bit rowdy on the streets. Nothing crazy. We get a sort of musical interlude as they lead to the
Multiple musical
rooftop.
interludes.
I felt like there was only
that one was the only bad one though, because it's a musical interlude while it shows them all talking for like 3 minutes. Clearly, whatever that dialogue would be more interesting than just watching them talk.
Or it wasn't interesting at all, and they just were like, "Fuck, let's just put some music over this
and make
like,
it
that's
more
probably
interesting."
more
But
likely
like,
would happen.
that's too long to watch people talk and not hear it.
Yeah, Devin, what was my advice to you? Fast forward.
Yeah, skip it. He said skip every scene where like the music plays and no one says anything. He's like just fast forward through all of those.
So yeah, after some chat,
Fair.
Victoria leaves, saying she has to open her workplace cafe later at 7 a.m. And Sonnen escorts her, and at the cafe, she invites him in for some cold cacao.
Okay, can you guys tell me if this is a real thing? One thing that bothers me about Europe's portrayal in movies is movies make it seem like people in Europe never go to sleep. Everyone stays up till 4 or 5 a.m. They're never tired. They go to work the next day. No one enjoys sleep. Like, that's the way Europe seems to be, and Europeans are portrayed in movies. It's like they don't need sleep. Everyone in Europe stays up till 4. Like, yeah.
From my understanding, German nightlife is quite nightlife up until the dawn, often, and like it's not out of the blue.
I like sleep. Maybe
to be fair, I don't know if Murphy, you have experiences with that. Davin, I know you're old, but
I've had myself some 7 a.m. walks of shame. Yeah,
well,
and I haven't slept in 2 years.
Where you go to work, from work you go to a party or event, and you're up all night, and then you literally go home, take a shower, and you're off to work again. I've done that a multitude of times.
Yeah, so I work for myself, so I take the next day off.
No, and I pay for it the next day at my desk, or sometimes in well, mostly at my desk. My head being propped up has done wonders for my career throughout many jobs I've had. So
fair enough.
So yeah, we get to the point in the film where, as Davan mentioned, where it's basically all our favorite scenes. So I did kind of break this up in a bit because I can't play the whole thing, but we're going to start with the beginning of the scene.
We have
like
the
car,
line I like.
You have a car, and you have a shop,
Yeah.
and now you're a piano player.
You're a lying piece of shit. You lie through your
piano
teeth.
player?
You don't stop lying throughout this entire movie. Sonnen,
I
you're a
like how
terrible
she keeps
person.
calling him on that shit, though.
An older uncle from me.
She calls him on it, and she's like, "Yeah, you're a liar, but you're kind of cute. I kind of want to bone you."
That was my favorite line. Yeah. Uncle for me is Mozart. That made me laugh out loud. Yeah. Uncle for
I
me.
know how to do this. I'm a professional.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, don't give me tips. Okay.
Give me tips.
Okay, maybe it's not because I'm not into it right now, but I'll show you something.
Okay.
Just with my eyes closed.
Okay.
Other than that line and how great the song she plays is, I wonder if we like this scene for the same reasons. I'll be interested.
It was just, thank you very much. Thank you.
So good.
Thank you. For
Your
very
face
good.
was so deep inside. It was
Yeah,
like...
because it was deep.
Yeah, okay.
Great scene.
No, and
She's playful, Jaemeel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my favorite sequence is more of later on.
Later on, which is,
Song?
I believe, about here.
This is killer too.
Did she actually play this?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it. I was watching her fingers.
Yeah.
No, but the music was live on set. I guess the director was playing it off camera on a different piano, and they were like piping them sound into their ears.
Oh, yeah.
Dude's a good piano player.
She gets lost in a moment, like that sequence.
Yeah. And
it's his most human and honest moment.
The music is. Yeah.
It's his most human and honest moment in the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's like this.
This is my favorite scene because he was moved by the music and it changed his entire outlook on life, basically.
But it's so quick how they got together so quickly. It's like they're, stuck in the back of a,
No, you cannot compare those. They didn't
absolutely
go, hey, did you see that movie? Oh, let's be in love and follow each other around. Jaemeel,
absolutely.
Jaemeel, you are so wrong on this, bud. Like
I
you
disagree.
cannot compare those
So
things.
wrong. I think
she actually changed his world because he had never heard music like that before. He'd never seen.
He's
live.
never heard music like that before.
He says he's never heard. That's literally his line. He literally says, "I've never heard music like that before."
It's literally
he says that
his
exact line.
It's literally his line. His line that he's telling her. It is such a lie.
You can see it on his face that it's true.
I disagree.
Jaemeel,
Davan,
what happened to your heart? Did it shrivel up into
I
an
would
ice cube?
agree. Like this is the moment when like she's playing her music hard, and he's just like in pure reflection.
He's blown away by it, but it's still live.
She's pouring her heart out. It changes his heart, and from this point on in the movie, he comes off way less sinister and way more sympathetic and more empathetic and more protective of her. It changes his entire
but he's
personality.
also still a lying piece of shit throughout the entire
And music can do that. That's what's real about it, especially that kind of music, like fucking just virtuoso shit in front of your eyes. Like, man, that was, and then it leads into her story about how she spent her life playing piano for them just to tell her like, you're shitty, get out of the conservatory, even though she's not shitty, but like.
Okay, yeah, that whole like I don't think any music conservatory would tell you to get the fuck out because you're shittier than the
No, it's not that they told her to get the fuck out. They told her
she
she's
won't
not
have a
as
career
good as other people in the conservatory. It's just like they're just like 10 famous piano players. You ain't gonna be one of them. Is what they're telling.
Yeah, which is kind of insane. I don't think any conservatory would have done that. Like any if there
some teachers would.
Teachers might, but I feel like
they would tell someone.
They would keep her.
Yeah.
Basically,
no, they would say
too.
You know what? It's like you're good, but you're not good enough to make this a career. Find another career.
Yeah, they think they're being helpful, and in some ways they are. But do your dream as well. If he wants to play piano, man.
But yeah, her backstory reveal was really nice. But yeah, soon the boys come and they want to pick up Sonnen, which Boxer's like, I got to go do this job because basically, while he was in jail, he was getting protection from a mob boss. And Sonnen and them leave Victoria alone, which she has about a 30-second to 1 minute scene of her brushing her teeth at best before they're all back and Foose is puking his guts out.
You mean the break for the other actors?
Old Foose.
He's too drunk, but Boxer insists there needs to be 4 men.
They're expecting 4. They need 4.
Yeah, they're expecting 4. So he demands Sonnen ask Victoria to join them, and she ultimately agrees to drive the car that they steal. Which, it's like these guys are stealing vehicles. Do you really want to hang out with them? At
Left
any
and
point
right,
in time,
in front of her workplace, no less.
Yeah,
like someone's parked out in front of your cafe.
At what point is the red flag, and you're like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be hanging out with these guys for stealing.
She's
vehicles.
accepted the red flags, though. That's why I don't dislike her character. Like I dislike Jennifer Lopez's character. Because she's making bad decisions, but to me they make sense. She is actually just desperate for an adventure and connection, which she thinks she's found with Sana, which is the connection part. But
I
she
could
knows
disagree with that.
she knows she's making bad decisions, especially like later on. She's like, no, I want to go with you guys, even after this guy like threatened to keep me while you
Well,
guys
yeah,
went
she
and did
pulls
it.
into his
Like,
lot and she's like, "It's a gun," and he's like, "Keep going." Like that would
she
have been
just
like,
wants an
"Oh,
adventure and doesn't really care how it ends because she doesn't feel like she has anything. She doesn't have friends. She doesn't have a job she cares about. Doesn't have a career that she doesn't have
leave the city."
dreams. She doesn't know what she wants anymore because her whole life was
You've developed
geared
this
towards
whole
becoming a
backstory
piano
for
player.
this character.
No, that's all explained in this movie.
It's true. It is explained in the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, they
Jameel,
meet the
you weren't
gangster
paying attention
protected
to this
boxer.
I was
movie,
paying
though.
attention. I made sure I paid attention. I went and I got subtitles for this damn movie.
Yeah, I did too. It was a trick. They meet a gangster protected
For me,
boxer
my
in
stream site
prison.
had it. Whoops, did
and
I say
ask them
streaming?
to.
I mean, I purchased the DVD. I purchased the DVD. Let me just declare right now, I purchased the DVD.
Yes, he didn't rob this
Continue.
movie whatsoever. The boxer in prison, and they asked him to. They meet the gangster who protected boxer in prison and ask them to rob a bank, promising to hold Victoria until they return. So basically, boxer owes this gangster €10,000, and the
week,
gangster's
not to mention. So we'll keep her for the week.
Yeah, we'll keep her. Well, okay. So basically, what happens is boxer's like, he has to pay the €10,000, and he's like, I can get you it in a week, and he's like, okay, well, we'll hold on to Victoria for a week, which Sonnen disagrees with, and he steps in and he's like, we'll do it tonight. We'll go rob your bank and get you your €10,000. So they practice the heist.
It's a lot considering she gets paid €4 an hour at work.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I like this scene because they ended up practicing the bank robbery in this,
Yeah, you don't
this
see that,
underground
really.
lot. Well, yeah, but the reason why I liked it is because, one, they're filming and they can't stop filming. Two, they really can't organize a whole bank robbery. So three, how do they get around it? They show the practice run of the bank robbery in an empty parking lot and what they'll do. So you have it in your mind so that when they go and actually do the bank robbery, your brain's doing all the like entertainment. You don't actually have to see it, and you're just watching Victoria like in the car.
I thought that was genius. Like,
yeah,
if you're not going to show it later,
while they do the practice run and all that stuff, and they're about to go for it, they're getting drugs, like some sort of like spray. I don't know what that was
well,
about.
it's cocaine. He says it's cocaine.
Well, one's cocaine, and the other one is the spray of cocaine.
One
too?
is there's another thing. It's called they called it like Timolin or something. Like it's Timolin and cocaine.
So if they get caught, they can always blame it on the drugs.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it was smart. He's like, if you get caught, you'll do less time. You might as well do it, and it'll give you confidence. He says.
But yeah, no, just the fact that her night's gone from like a 3 to a cautionary 5 to now we're doing cocaine and we're about to rob a bank. She's on a whole level 8 now. So yeah, they're all tweaked up. Blinker wanted an extra hip, but that extra hip proved to be too much. He had trouble breathing, so he had to pull over, get his shit together, and then they make it to the bank.
Or was he just having anxiety because he didn't want to go do this?
Panic attack.
I'm sure the cocaine
trying to find a way
helping.
out. He's like, I should have just puked like Foose.
So yeah, basically they wait for the bank teller that they were told would show up, and then they rush in. We stay with Victoria in the car. She drives around. This scene was fun because the engine just accidentally turns off on the engine.
That made me laugh. Oh shit!
This was the moment of the film where I was on the edge of my seat the most. This was the moment where I was like,
"This is so tense.
Where the fuck is this gonna go? How
me too.
much more tense can this get?" And it just it compounds from here.
It's just like bail, just bail. I'm like, just run.
Bail.
The car's dead. Just bail. I was like
there's
screaming
so
at the TV,
urgency.
like bail.
Yeah. Just get out of there, girl.
Game over, man. It's over.
She accidentally turns the engine off. These guys come back. She starts yelling at Boxer to hotwire it again, and sending everybody into a panic. But they begin to.
You know what's funny about that? Like when they're doing that practice run, he fucks up with the car door, and he says to the scary mobster guy, he's just like, "I won't mess up with the car again."
Mess up,
And then the car like totally like honks out at the actual robbery. But I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I thought,
and
for
yeah,
a time that the car that they gave them, the van, was purposely done that way so that they can get caught.
They didn't give it to them. They stole that in front of her
they stole.
cafe.
No, they're in a van.
No, the van that
Yeah,
they
the
showed
van
up
they
with the
stole
gangster
in front
thing?
of her
Yeah.
cafe.
Yeah, they stole that previously.
I
Before
thought they
went to the
switched
meeting.
vehicles.
No,
They did. They stole a car first, and they left Foose in that car, and then they went and stole the van in front of her cafe.
Yeah.
And then they got Foose again.
No, that was it. They just
No,
left
they never
Foose in
got
the car.
Foose.
They never got Foose.
No,
Again.
they kept Foose.
No, they never got Foose. They even say later we forgot about Foose.
Yeah.
They're like, he's
what
still in
happened
that
to Foose?
car. They're like, but he's like, oh, I forgot about Foose.
The way that it was presented, when the cops at the end find their vehicle, there was a person inside that one.
So, yeah, okay, that was one thing. When I was doing my plot synopsis,
They find the car or the van?
The van.
It was mentioned that Foose was like arrested in the van, but he's never actually in the van. He was like in the cafe and left at the cafe, I think.
That's why I was confused.
Oh, they say they left him in the vehicle. They did say that. Maybe he was just passed out in the back of that van the whole time.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. All right, so these guys, they just robbed a bank. They're
Yes.
driving. They're trying to regain control, and they're basically driving around in circles. And for whatever reason, in their utter brilliance of things to do after robbing a bank, they decide, let's go back to the club we were at earlier. You know, let's go.
That was their
clubbing.
downfall.
Rather
This
than
was the moment
going
of
to
their
find the
downfall.
gangster, give them the money, and then move on.
Just go
And get the
straight
fuck out of that
clubbing.
country. You're
Yeah,
in Europe.
like-
There's another country an hour away. Just go there.
Give the money away. Keep your €40. Everybody gets 10. Bail. Get out of there. But no,
Very
let's go
generous
clubbing.
mobster. Like
Very
he's just like, there's
generous
$50,000 you're gonna steal. He's just like, I only want 10. I'm like, I've never heard that in a movie before. Normally
is
it'd be the
why
other way around. I'll take 40, you take 10.
Which is
It's like-
why I felt like I thought it was a setup for a time. When the car stopped, the van stopped working, I'm like, was that a setup? Because it seemed like too sweet of a deal, right?
I guess that's just what he wanted from the protection he offered him. He's just like, you'll fine, but when we get out, you owe me 10 grand or something. And he gave him
It
a
felt
way
like
to get it.
It felt like a hook, right? In terms of like, I'm gonna give you this sweetheart deal, right? Worst case scenario, he gets caught, he ends up back in prison under his thumb, needing his protection again, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a good worst case scenario, but I
Right?
don't think that's what he wanted.
Best
to
case
happen. I think
scenario,
just
he
wanted his
comes
10
walking
grand.
towards you with the 50,
And you
right? And you
take it
can
all.
say, "Hey, I'm taking it all," right?
Yeah.
Either way, the gangster wins. What is he gonna do?
Which is what Don Cheadle did in the last movie. Like Steve Zahn's like, this is my game. He's just like, no. He's like, now this is my plan. This
Yeah.
is my car, and you can get out if you like.
Yeah.
He's like,
So that's what I felt was happening during that sequence.
So yeah, these guys go back to the club where, you know, Sonnen and Victoria, they have a romantic moment. However, Blinker and Big Andy, what's up, baby? Blinker and
very beautiful, according to Big Andy.
Boxer, they decide to get a little erratic and start slinging dong all over the place, which I wasn't expecting. They're just straight butt naked dancing to the club, which they eventually get kicked out of.
But his ass never gets covered up. He's basically carrying her and sticking her head in his ass.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He's like, I'm staring at your ass, Boxer.
Staring at your ass, Boxer. Yeah, this cute little Spider-Man kiss going up the ladder and whatnot between Sonnen and Victoria. But yeah, they get kicked out.
Better than that Spider-Man kiss.
Yeah. It's already the sky's bright, and Victoria asks about Foose, whom they've all forgotten is still sleeping.
Yeah, that
in the
is
car.
hilarious. Oh shit, Foose.
Yeah, he's still sleeping in the car. And they slowly walk away and see the police have already found the car. They panic and soon get chased by the police. And it becomes very chaotic at this point.
Oh yeah.
Blinker ends up getting shot by the police.
You were making all the wrong decisions here. As far
Rule
as a
number one:
getaway.
split up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
split up.
exactly.
Don't point guns at
Exactly.
cops. Like so many
I was
bad
yelling that at the
choices.
screen too. I was like, "Split up!"
Yeah. Blinker gets shot.
Especially like
Victoria Sun and
her,
Boxer hide
'cause
behind a wall.
the
They just do some.
the bankers
train
only
fire.
saw 3 dudes.
Yeah.
Like she could have
Yeah.
got away at any point.
Well,
But,
technically, yeah. So yeah, they ended up retreating to another wall. Boxer gets shot in the leg, so he gets pretty much left behind at this point. He tells Sun and Victoria.
Well, yeah, they already lost old Blinky, Bling Blinky.
Yeah.
Bling Blinker. As the police advance, Sun and Victoria leave Boxer and they head into an apartment building, where on the stairs, Sun threatens a man to give them shelter. They enter this apartment.
I did laugh. I did laugh at this.
When he yells at the guy, he's like, "You're not supposed to let me in here if there's a baby in here."
Yeah,
It's like, dude, you put a gun to his head and said, "Take me to your apartment." He's like, "You dick! You let me in here when there's a baby in here." That was pretty fun.
I did laugh. I did laugh at that.
Oh yeah. I will
Police
say I don't
surrounding
like
the
them.
building.
I never like when they use babies as a plot device since I became a father of a baby. So like
Well,
any point in
Devin,
this
I
thing
will
where
tell
they're
you as someone
endangering
who
a
does-
baby, I did not enjoy it.
Devin, I'll tell you as someone who does not have a child, I don't
Yeah,
like it either.
Same thing. Yeah,
I wasn't
I
a big fan of the choices here, but I mean they were choices that were made, and those choices were that
that was my problem with
Victoria-
that anime movie, whereas the baby was just
Tokyo Godfathers.
Yeah.
Tokyo
It was just about
Godfathers.
endangering a baby. That entire movie, like I wasn't there for it.
That movie was good. Anyway, so yeah, the police surround the building. Victoria talks the man's wife into borrowing their baby, and she and Sun take the baby and get past.
This is
the
when I
police.
stopped cheering for them to get away. I'm like, if you're gonna take this baby, I hope.
Wait,
the
you
cops
were
shoot
cheering
them.
for them to get away like all this time?
Yeah, I liked those two. I wanted them to get away from the cops. I really did. Like
Lord.
they were manipulated. Those two were mostly manipulated by the situation, by their friend Boxer and the mobster guy. She made the horrible decision to keep going along with it, but I wanted them to get away. Yeah, these two, I like them. They're a nice young couple.
So yeah, Sun and Victoria use the baby to get past the police. They're stopped in the
So
hallway.
they stole the baby.
So yeah, no, they borrowed the baby, and when they borrowed the baby, they got out the door. They did. She did leave the baby at the store across the street, as Victoria promised, and they ultimately called a taxi.
This is the one thing I didn't like. If they have this street blocked off, which they seem to have the entire neighborhood blocked off
Yeah.
with cops, they're
They're
telling
not
people to
letting a
stay in their
taxi,
buildings.
yeah.
How's the cab still? How do you wave a cab in this situation?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that was the big plot hole in the movie for me.
There's a handful of them, but yeah, Victoria and Sun head to the hotel where Sun ultimately, and this is actually a scene where you see the blood on his fingertips, so you get the hint that he's been shot in the whole thing. But yeah,
He hid that for a long time. Like he must have
did.
been in excruciating pain. And
Yeah.
he was hiding that the whole time.
He was worried that they didn't have a passport, but she's like, "Give me the money. I've got a plan." So she goes and she, changes again, cleans up.
So was it a
becomes stoic.
hostel?
This is a
No,
hotel.
it's a hotel, a fancy
I
hotel.
know, but like I've never heard.
I don't
of a
know
hotel
what
needing-
story. Yeah, I don't know what story she gave them to actually.
I wanted to hear that
a
story.
key.
And I thought we were gonna get that story, so I was quite disappointed when she came back.
Yeah,
No,
it
but
was
I
just,
mean, like,
close up on him.
Do you know that if hotels in Europe require you to have a passport to book a room?
It was odd.
You need
Like,
a passport or
ID.
some
You don't
sort
need
of
a
ID or
passport,
credit
yeah.
card. Yeah, you
Well,
gotta have
ID,
some
yes,
you
I
need a credit
understand.
card. Yeah. But she might have just walked up and dropped a friggin' handful of bills on, or like a stack of bills on the desk, and be
Well,
like,
yeah, if you put enough down deposit, they'll
Yeah.
just be like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Money
she
still
gets the
talks.
idea that he's basically bleeding and all that stuff. So he's been shot. He basically tells Victoria, take the money and leave, head back to Spain. And he dies, and then she proceeds to have the most epic meltdown of her life. She just went through the most hysterical evening she could ever, and just goes through the most powerful meltdown.
And they're coming down off drugs. Like
Coming
she's
down off drugs.
Yep.
she's brought a man to basically die in this bed. She's got her DNA, her snot, her tears going all over the place. Calls the ambulance from the room, is like, send an ambulance, and then proceeds to just bawl and cry and hang out here for way too long. This is when I was screaming at the movie. I'm just like, leave, woman. Why are you crying over this lying son of a bitch that you knew for less than fucking 8 hours? Like, yeah, you guys had some moments, but like, you shouldn't be this hysterical over this. You just grab the money and go. Just leave. And she ultimately
I
does.
think that's also like the realization of everything that has happened. She just took part in like the death of 3 people, and like that's a lot. She went from just playing piano for like 7 hours a day and doing not much else to all this
running a
crazy
cafe
shit.
to
That's a
doing
lot.
drugs and
Yeah.
watching men die. And yeah, she ultimately walks out in the
Shootouts
streets of
with
Berlin,
cops.
and that's the end of the movie. She walks away with the stolen money, and who knows what she did. But yeah, that's
All right,
Victoria in
well.
a nutshell.
Plot storytelling. Why don't you go first, Jaemeel?
No.
Yeah. No?
Okay.
No. No is
To
no.
me,
No is my answer. No.
okay.
No.
To
Like,
me,
okay.
I like the plot and storytelling of this. The one cut thing I didn't really notice it, to be honest. It just felt like a movie that kept a good pace. Like the going from, like, you obviously have to connect all your scenes concretely to do a single take movie. I just didn't find any of that felt forced. Like everything just felt like it moved to the next thing the way it naturally would. Like, she's like, I want to go to work now. They go to work. Like, I don't know. It just felt like a regular, not a regular day, obviously, but it actually felt like a real amount of that time that didn't seem jarring. Like we have to do all these weird things to make it flow in that way.
I feel like if this was done with, let's say, a different set of hands, because I don't want to say more care, because I know that there's a lot of work and effort that was put into this film. I don't want to say better actors, because I know that they tried their
Jennifer
best.
Lopez.
Davan. Okay. I just felt like, okay, if you put the plot into another presentation of items, I think that I could have found something that I consistently, a narrative that I enjoyed, and I was swept up into it. But a lot of this, I just didn't care what was happening throughout this picture.
Interesting. I was on the edge of my seat, and I just found like if you would have taken this movie and given it to a major studio, it would have been completely.
I didn't say
ruined.
major
It
studio.
needed it. No, but like if you would have just thrown money at this, it would have made it worse. The
But
fact
I think
that it
that's
was
the same.
all.
I think you could say that to any storyline, story picture. I'm talking about if you put this in the hands of like an actual proper director, right? Right. I'm not going to say Sunburn because we've already just covered that just recently. But I mean, like,
I think this was better directed than Out of Sight. Like it didn't have,
dude,
foreshadowing till the cows
No.
come home. It didn't have flashbacks. It didn't
what
have like
ultimately-
all these
But you're
things that were
talking about
jarring and
elements
took me out of the movie.
storytelling that you don't like, and I'm not.
Yes,
I'm
this
not
didn't have any that I didn't like.
Okay, I think
Yes,
ultimately
I
what
agree
this
with that.
movie sacrificed from, realistically, it's really well done plot and storytelling wise. I think the directing's done really well for the limitations in which it was filmed. Okay.
Yes.
This movie could have benefited from a larger budget for which they could have built practical sets and hired extras.
What wasn't
and
practical
been
about
more
these sets?
grander.
Okay.
What wasn't
Well, no,
practical
all the
about
set.
these
No. What I mean by practical sets is, as opposed to what they did, which was run literally through the streets of Berlin, right?
But that's
they could
part of the
have-
good
David, it's
stuff of it.
realism. That's the
That's a good
that's
thing.
why
I'm not-
that's why I say more money would have destroyed this movie. George
No.
Clooney and big actors would have destroyed this movie.
No,
this
it
movie needed to
wouldn't.
be
It
done
would
by
not.
No,
a bunch
I'm not
of people
saying
you've
it
never
needed
seen
bigger
before.
actors, Davan. I'm not saying it needed bigger actors. I'm saying if it had a larger budget in which it could have had expanded set pieces within Berlin. Like Berlin allowed them to probably film at certain
because
areas.
this
Because it
all this
felt very
happens in like a
guerrilla
couple.
filmed.
Yeah, it's
This is
a
very
very
much a guerrilla
tight,
filming.
very tight area that they
Skeleton
filmed in.
crew, right? It was a skeleton
That
crew in a
again
single
adds to
night
the
in a couple
realism.
blocks. No, it
They
adds
live
to
in
the
this
realism.
neighborhood.
But
Everything
the
happens in
thing
this
is,
one neighborhood.
it adds to the realism, but the thing is, the film is very sort of bare bones in the sense that they're using improvisation to fill in a lot of the gaps, and they could have, if they had a bigger budget and slightly more room to run around, they probably would have found gaps to fill in that would have made the story maybe a bit more cohesive.
But I don't think that a bigger budget necessarily is. I don't think it is a solve that has to be used, right? They could have just, it didn't need to be a single take. It could have been like the same movie, and they could have progressed or moved, expanded the area a little bit more, especially when they're driving away, right? As opposed to it feeling like a tiny box, right?
Again,
like
this
that
is where budget would have come
claustrophobic
in.
kind of feel
Yeah.
that it
If they had more
But,
budget,
like-
they probably could have tried to like film it in multiple takes and cuts and stuff like that. But again,
Yeah,
probably
it didn't
wouldn't.
necessarily, and that's not more of a budget. That just means like they disregard this concept and they decide to, film over the course of 2 months as opposed to,
The
really
thing
try
is,
to
I don't
narrow it
think
down.
I don't
weeks.
think they wanted to disregard the concept because I'll touch upon it in the movie morsels. But the entire concept of the movie did need to be one take because it was inspired by a stage play that was sort of done in like one take and essentially. So that was the inspiration. So he was gonna do a one take film regardless. I think he would have had a better visual looking one take film if he had more budget to expand upon and fill in the things, because there was a 5-minute scene where it was just music riding on a bike, like just those were the gaps.
Scenes were the worst.
Yeah, right. Those
The
were the
music
gaps
video
that needed
scenes were the
filling.
worst.
Yeah.
See, I partially agree with you guys. I agree it didn't need to be one take, but I also didn't feel like that one take. Again, I didn't notice it. I didn't find it a detriment to the movie.
It's definitely
And like the only and I didn't even notice it when we watched it, but you guys mentioned it tonight. She should have gone pee, and if there were cuts, that could have happened.
I'm sorry, things like that just like stick in my head.
Yeah, but like
I
that,
don't know,
I
man.
didn't
Some
even
women
notice,
have iron
but,
Oh,
bladders, though. Like some women just have iron bladders; they'll hold it forever.
Well, they're superhuman.
It's
They
just
can
no. It's
shoot
just a
at people.
sequence. It's a sequence where it feels like it's going to be revisited somehow, right? If you see someone walk into the bathroom that they need to go to the bathroom, and then they don't go to the bathroom, right? In the back of your head,
Such a small thing, though.
but that's just how my mind works. I know it, right? And I'm like, when is she going to go to the bathroom, right? It's just in my head. I know that.
But what if when she went to butt in line to get into the bathroom, the person she butt in front of had seen the same movie as her? that would have made it better, right? Anyway,
No, only if
which performance?
Only if they were stuck in the same stall together for about 2 hours and talked about
like 2 seconds. But yeah, which performance did you hold up? I like the two leads the most. Yeah, she was great, and I liked the Sonic guy. He was good.
Yeah, he was played
Boxer,
because he was
Frederick Lau.
sinister early, and then like that he did a lot of things, like that scene where he was moved by the music and stuff. He was quite good.
Boxer's performance.
Boxer, yeah. Yeah,
Boxer.
he was.
That's
He
interesting.
seemed like that instigating sort of rough dog type. He definitely pulled it through.
Sensitive, but you
yeah.
can see that he's like that menace behind his eyes. If it like, okay, I'm gonna get on my Davan hat. If this was a if this was a modern movie, that'd play he'd be played by Vinnie Jones, and he'd just be this brooding, character, no type of sensitivity. Like when you see him dancing and when
Or
he's
Jason Statham.
Oh God, yeah, right.
He'd be played by Jason Statham.
The way he's like shy when talking to Victoria initially, it's great. A great juxtaposition in comparison when you see him when they're at the cafe and they're like, "I need the 4 people." It's just like you see
He's
the
freaking
change, a
out.
switch. Yeah.
Because he's
For me,
scared shitless.
Yeah.
For me, it's
He's-
like
he's-
Costa. She held the film together. Like she's the main role. Her ability, I think the shine in her ability is more so in the end of the film, how she sort of flips almost in an instant, especially in the bathroom where she changes, where she goes from like a naive person to like she's thinking quick and she's going with
She's
ideas
crazy
that get them out of
quick
it.
on her feet.
Yeah, quick
Like,
on her feet. Super
she comes
quick
up
on
with
her
the
feet.
baby idea, which is the only thing that saved her. And like,
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't have put
I
themselves in
hated
that
it.
position in the first place.
I hated it. But, oh yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah.
They took all the
You know,
wrong
she shouldn't have
turns.
been
He's like,
in a
go
lot of
left here. I'm like,
situations.
go left here, you fool! Like, you need to like. Anyway, I was like planning routes for them through the trees and shit, but they weren't. They weren't listening.
But
like,
yeah, no, yeah, she held it, and just that like the complete meltdown. Like, I admit the meltdown at the end went on probably a minute or two longer than I needed to. Like, I was like, okay,
I skipped a
you can
minute
stop.
of it, to be honest. Of the
I was like,
meltdown.
you gotta,
but
gotta
only
stop
because
crying and leave.
I was running
you
out of
have
time.
to stop crying and leave.
When did you
You
finish
gotta
this
grab
movie?
the money and go.
2 minutes before we started.
You had an extra week, man.
It doesn't matter.
I know, but that made me feel like I had all kinds of time.
Murphy, you knew when I finished this movie because I messaged you in the morning when I finished it.
Yes.
5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
both said you were waiting for it to get dark, and then you were gonna watch it.
Well, I watched it. It was like 5 or 6 p.m. that night before last night or whatever, and I watched it, and I was like, okay, cool. I tried
had
to
a-
watch it in the morning, but I couldn't get past 20 minutes because it was just so dark. I was like, I can't see what's going on.
I had to watch I had to watch a show and do a podcast, and then
Yeah. Setting aesthetic.
Setting
for
aesthetic?
me,
good.
Yeah.
It felt real. The setting aesthetic was real because it was. They were just in Berlin.
And
It was
and
all
that's
I don't
why
like things that look like sets, and
Yeah.
nothing was a set, so nothing
and
looked like.
and
a set.
that's why I'm despite my misgivings, right? That is the locations that they use are really good. A lot, like you compare that to like Pink Panther, where everything
Doesn't
just
look
seems like
real.
a set except outside, right?
Yeah.
Every
and even
everything
then, sometimes
you feel like you can put if you can dip your finger into each scene, you can probably get the grime off of the ground, right? In this movie, it's really good.
You could smell the drugs on their wrist.
Yeah, like I can like that sound when you lift the key guard up off of the piano. I've always hated that sound because when you lift that guard off the keys, it speeds up and it always bangs hard against the inside, and I'm always like, so like yeah, that felt real to me. I'm like I winced. He opens up the thing. I'm like.
Not so fast.
Yeah, like ooh, that's a nice piano there. Go easy, but that's just how they open, and they're always like that. Yeah, it's hard wood. That's real wood.
Yep.
Well-made pieces. All right, well, you know what? It's time for.
Movie morsels for Victoria 2015. There aren't a lot because it's generally the case with the modern movies, but here's we go. The film was shot entirely in one take, as we all know, which presented significant challenges for the cast and crew. They had to rehearse the entire film multiple times to ensure that everything went smoothly on the day of shooting. It took 3 attempts to film the movie. The take used for the final cut was the third take and completed from 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. on April 27th, 2014.
Jesus, they even did it in the exact time they said they were.
to get the lights.
In
I guess
the
so. Wow.
Kreuzberg and Mitte neighborhoods of Germany. The original screenplay was very short. It was only 12 pages. Since a large part of the dialogue was improvised because of this, the writers are credited for story and not for screenplay.
See,
So that explains a lot.
You don't need famous actors for this because they're just probably playing versions of themselves. They're just playing kind of regular people most of the time. They're like joking around with their friends and that kind of stuff. But if like a lot of that dialogue was improvised, it was very well done because it felt like real conversations. It didn't feel like weird forced
Yeah, no, it was very
improvisation.
on point for like
Yeah, it just
like
felt real.
awkward flirting
Yeah,
conversations and like stepping over, and it's basically what it was. The
yeah.
whole film was improvised, you know.
Wow, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with that. But my question was
Just
going to be,
like
do you think every time a character was off screen, they were just like cramming their lines?
No,
But
they're
like,
probably taking a rest.
yeah, they were
yeah,
taking
and
like
maybe.
getting
notes.
ready.
Yeah.
This is a fun one. Just like the other famous one-take film, Russian Ark, Victoria was to be filmed only 3 times. In the case of both films, this succeeded with the third and last take. So Victoria and Russian Ark both succeeded their one-take films on the third take. I've never heard of Russian Ark prior today, so I
Never
had to
heard
do
of
some
that.
research on this. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Whenever-
that's the one Tiffany was telling me about. She went to film school and they had to watch a one-take movie, and she said it wasn't this one. So maybe it
the
was
one take
Russian
film
Ark.
that I always think of is isn't Time Code.
Oh, that one.
Don't know
I don't
that
know
one
Russian
either.
Ark either.
This fact blew my mind, and I'm really disappointed that this is the case. Despite its positive reviews, this movie was disqualified for an Academy Award nomination in the Best Foreign Language Film category due to its large amount of English dialogue.
Yup. that
You
seems
know what?
about
I don't
right.
care because award ceremonies are.
No, but like
You buy those, right? Like you actually just buy a nomination. That's real.
Yes and no. But
Yes,
no,
and yes.
yes and no, yes and
Yes
no.
and yes.
Davin, you don't necessarily use money to win an Oscar or to get nominated. You use other things like sentimentality is one that is heavily used.
No. Studios have to nominate you for like if your movie was done by Paramount has to put you up for it.
Yes.
And they choose who to put up. So it's not like the best person
No, you're
gets it. It's just like
submitting a film.
Yeah.
You're submitting a film, right?
Or an actor or whatever. But yeah, like that's weird.
But for them to actually get nominated, right? It's voted by. And the vote is usually like really by its merit, by money, and in terms of its campaign through like, oh, come to our screening and we'll lavish you with gifts and we'll have you meet stars and other people that we'll put in front. Or you start seeing the campaign. Is it Leo's year? Right? This is Leo's turn.
Yeah,
right?
like
This is Leo's
that's what I
time.
mean. It's all this
those
weird
things. But I'm just saying it's
popularity
not just
contest.
money. There's other forms of manipulation.
No, the money thing I was actually thinking of the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Those you just buy for
Oh yeah,
50
that's
grand.
just straight up bought. That's straight up bought.
Straight up 50 grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
The film
One
was
day
shot
they
using-
stole enough to buy. They could have bought Victoria Star on the Walk of Fame.
So the film was shot using only available light, which meant that the filmmakers had to carefully plan the timing of each shot to take advantage of the natural lighting conditions, which is really hard to do.
Well done too. They did that well, really well.
Leigh Costa, who plays Victoria, had to learn all of her lines in both German and English. She also had.
Which is funny because she doesn't speak German in this movie.
She
constantly
bit,
says
not a
she
lot.
can't speak German in this movie. She's like, I don't.
She also had to memorize the entire 2-hour-long script, as there were no breaks in filming.
They said there was no script. It was like 12 pages.
12.
Make up your mind, Murphy.
It said memorize the entire 2-hour-long script. It was 12 pages. The film director Sebastian Schipper was inspired to make the film after watching a one-take stage play. He believed that the format could be adapted to film and wanted to push the boundaries of what was possible in cinema, and he did so.
See, I like that. I like it. To me, it doesn't. You can do fake cuts. It doesn't have to be one take. But I like the idea of a movie that just the time that passes in the movie is the exact amount of time of the movie. I like that idea. And that made it more tense and kept me on the edge of the seat more.
So the last two here. The film's climactic bank heist scene was shot on location in a real bank
robbery
with real security guards who were unaware they were part of a film shoot.
What?
That's
Yeah.
dumb. That is
Yeah.
You
just
don't even
straight up
see
dumb.
inside the bank, though.
Yeah.
Like,
In the
running
scene-
into a bank with fake guns is crazy.
Yeah, it's
Like,
insane.
What?
It's madness.
In
I
the
think we need
scene-
verification of that more. So that sounds insane that you would do that.
It was. I mean, it was on IMDb. It was just, in the
That's
scene,
Amazon
right,
propaganda, dude.
in the scene right after the bank robbery, Elia Costa actually forgot where to drive and takes the wrong turn. Everyone's outburst of panic in the car is completely genuine, as they were risking filming crew members and thus ruining the whole take. Even the director, Sebastian
noticed
Schipper,
that.
who was lying in the trunk of the car, started screaming directions in sheer panic. His screaming was later removed.
Was he in the trunk of the car?
Was later removed during audio editing. The car actually ended up driving past crew members, but none of them can be seen thanks to the cameraman who reacted quickly by filming from a much lower angle so as to not have any windows in the frame. So
See, I thought there was a time where they all tell her to turn left and she turns right. But well,
yeah,
that's
she
the same
just
way.
got
She messes up the
confused.
directions.
Yeah, she messed up the directions when she was driving, so they were like all freaking out. So yeah, cinematography by Sturla Brandt Grovlin, and it's edited now, not edited per se, but the audio editor who helped blend the movie was Olivia Neergård Holm, and the music was by Nils Fromm. It was a release date of February 7th, 2019 at Berlin International Film Festival, and was released on June 11th, 2019 in Germany. Running time was 138 minutes. It was a budget of €444,000 with a box office of €6.1 million. So it was really a smash success.
Awesome. It deserved to be. Rewatchability. I mean, for me, with most rewatchabilities, I'd say the same thing. Sure, in like 10 years or something. But like, not like Doctor Strangelove, which I wanted to watch immediately after I finished watching it again. But this one, I'd come back to it in some time, likely. It's the kind of movie I'd like to show somebody who hasn't seen it. I'd be like, you should watch this movie. This is cool, and I'll watch it with you.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would want to rewatch it again just for the technical aspects, as somebody who likes to study film and the production of film and stuff like that. I would definitely rewatch it again, just sort of like, just see the seams, if any, and like they did a really good job of hiding them. It was really
Won't be as tense. It'll lose some tension on the rewatch.
It's they say it's like one of those. It's one of the 1,001 movies you need to watch before you die. It's one of those movies you got to watch.
Yeah, agreed.
No. But how I would watch it again, I would watch it with audio commentary. I would watch the cut version, which they did first. Right? They made a cut version of the film before they did the full
version with cuts.
Yeah,
all through it.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I would watch that. I would watch the first two other cuts.
Where she goes to the bathroom.
I would watch the first two cuts. When you're looking up the details about this movie, they said the first cut was bad because everyone was very cautious. The second cut was really bad because everyone went crazy trying to not be cautious. So I wouldn't mind seeing these other two versions of it, right? Because it would be different enough that I would be like, where's the difference? Like it'd be like I would be drawn into that.
Them.
Yeah. So
agreed.
I would definitely be interested in a commentary.
If you ever could get
hold on.
such a thing.
Pause a second. Let me clarify. I am not mad that I watched this film. Okay.
Does it hold up? For me, it does. I swear this is the most enjoyment I've had out of a movie on this podcast since Good Night and Good Luck, which I think was only 2 episodes ago, but also George Clooney.
Well, I'm surprised that this is a holdup for you, Davan. Honestly, when I was watching this, I'm like, this is going to be a shaky movie. He's not going to like it. It's going to be too little
It was
something.
tense. It was super tense.
It was super tense.
Like I was yelling at the screen. If the movie has me yelling at the screen, it's a good movie.
I was yelling at the screen for other reasons.
Either way, the movie got us yelling at the screen, so it did its job.
Okay. Oh, so I'm the holdup in terms of holding up. I don't want to give in. I don't want to give in to peer pressure, mind you. I don't like this movie. I don't, and I've made it abundantly clear.
I'm shocked by that. I am shocked.
I'm the type of person I will like something unless I don't like it, and I don't like this movie. I understand and appreciate the technical aspects and the skill and effort that is presented in this, but when I think of Hold Up, I think of a movie that not just to revisit, but is something that should be held in high regard. And I can't say it with this movie, so I'm gonna say no.
I don't know how you can hold in high regard anything with Jennifer Lopez in it.
You have not seen Hustlers. Have you not seen
No,
Selena?
I haven't. No.
Made in Manhattan?
No, if it says starring Jennifer Lopez, I don't watch it.
The Cell?
She's not an actress. Oh, I saw The
Jersey
Cell.
Girl?
The Cell's not a good movie.
The Cell's not a good movie.
No,
I
she's not
disagree.
good.
I was
I
gonna
disagree. Are we shit talking
every line
The Cell?
I've ever heard her deliver in a movie? She sounds like she's reading it. Like she's not
The
an
Cell
actress.
is a great
Sorry,
movie. Vincent D'Onofrio.
Jennifer Lopez is
Wait,
not
hold
an
on.
actress.
Murphy, no, stop.
Yes, The Cell is
Stop.
a great movie.
It's
yes,
not.
I love that director. The Cell and The
You can
Fall are
love the
some of the most
director.
beautifully made movies ever.
The Cell is gorgeous.
All right,
The
we're
Cell
ending
is
this
gorgeous,
movie.
but,
Heist movie rankings. For me, it's Victoria, Out of Sight, The Pink Panther.
For me, it's Out of Sight, Victoria, and the Pink Panther.
You know what I'm gonna say. So we
Same
can
as
skip that.
Murphy.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Jaemeel, even though you ruined Victoria being an A movie,
I'm
which it deserves
sorry.
to be.
I'm sorry. Look, it is.
I
it
even
is
gave your
just
shitty Jennifer Lopez movie an A, but
because
fine.
you liked it. You did.
Yeah, just not her. Again, I hated a third of that movie, but I did really quite enjoy the other 2/3.
I can't wait. I would love to hear your feelings about others, Leonard Soderbergh team ups, or even more Leonard films. I know you like
Jackie Brown is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
Jackie Brown is, I think, by
Jackie
far
Brown
the
is one of
best
my all-time
Tarantino
favorites.
movie.
I honestly, the fact that there is a story connection with just the slightest little
Michael
Keaton story connection between Jackie
Keaton
Brown
should have showed
really
up in
upped the
Victoria
movie for me. You know what? If Ray
snort
Nicoletta
that.
showed up in Victoria,
Jaemeel would have loved it.
Slow clap.
Yeah.
Slow clap. That would
As
have
an
been the most.
he's a
Ray
in
Nicoletta
all
busts
movies.
them. Oh,
Yeah.
movies.
Anyways,
over. Perfect.
He could have been the stupid cop that let them call a taxi. Or that bartender she was hitting on earlier. But
okay. Please put Victoria high up there.
Well, look, I'm sharing the thing here. Here's the episodes. And yes, I'm adding Victoria to the B section. Thanks, Jaemeel.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I love you, and I'm glad you're on the show. Jaemeel was offered a full-time spare change segment on this show, by the way. Turned it down. Said he didn't have time for the likes of us.
Hey,
He
just
didn't say
how
that.
long
He
it
didn't
takes
say
for
that.
me to respond to anyone. I'm slow on
But
the.
there's our movies. I think we've got most of these correct.
Can you
have
do
any
me a
nitpicks
favor
with this list? Yeah.
I do. I have a disagreement. Can you put Victoria on the top of the B section?
No.
No.
Because this is in chronological order.
Okay.
But
it would be on the top of the B section if I
we have discussed like I want to do a season ending episode where we don't cover any new movies. We just talk about the movies that we saw during
we can
season
rank
1
them?
after our 20th episode. No, but we can discuss, like, because we've often bring up, like, this is a B plus and this is a B minus. We can just discuss these kinds of things. And Jaemeel, I want you on the season finale episode.
Where I bring all my misgivings from previous episodes.
Exactly.
Because I do watch all the episodes.
Exactly. You and Andre both. So I kind of want him on that episode too.
It's gonna be
Andre's going to come after me and disagree. He's like, Victoria is such a great film.
No, look, Andre
I would
loves
love to
every
hear
movie.
Andre's thoughts on Victoria,
Andre is,
honestly.
you won't find anyone more super positive about movies because he just appreciates that people make them. So he basically loves every movie.
I would love.
I'm
his
the
thoughts on
opposite. I have a
Victoria.
very critical mind, and
I would never
that's
mention
the
Victoria
delight.
my worst, like my most hated films. It's nowhere near that.
And that wasn't a slight, Andre. I think that's a great quality to have, as I know you're listening. So that was not a slight.
One of my worst, the movies I hate the most is "I'll Be Home for Christmas" was it Jonathan Taylor Thomas? Don't watch that film, okay?
You know what I think's the worst Christmas movie ever that people seem to like? That one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I
Jingle
hate
All the
that
Way?
Christmas movie.
Jingle
I think
All
that's
the
the
Way?
worst, actually the worst movie I've ever seen. I only
Worst
saw it for the
mo-
first time last year, and I thought it was unwatchable.
Wow, not a Sinbad fan.
Yeah.
No, not as an actor. Or,
What?
no, not as anything. Sinbad's not
Light's
funny
in
as a
that
stand-up
movie,
either,
man.
actually.
I disagree. I
Big
think he
Show's
was
in
good
that
in a
movie.
different world. Sorry,
Big Show's in that movie.
Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
No, man, that was way
Yeah,
before his
He
time.
plays the giant Santa Claus.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Credit is Paul White. I did not help
Well-
this episode be under 3 hours. I apologize.
No. Well, look,
I think this might be our longest episode yet.
it is. Yeah, it is.
I
But
was
there you have it,
trying.
people.
I was trying. I was like, okay, first one's under 50 minutes. We're gonna get it. We're gonna and derailed, and okay. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna be over 3 for this one.
Dude,
Surprise, motherfucker.
I love Dokes. Love Dokes.
Oh yeah, Dokes is the best.
Best addition to the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Murphy brought that and played it like 6 times one episode, so I'm just keeping it going.
Oh, yes.
Did you know we're part of a united federation of podcasts?
A federation of podcasts, you say?
Yes.
I say.
What's the name of the site? What's the address of the site?
ufpodcast.com.
Okay.
What?
I want to see if Davan, you know it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez. Who do you think's running this empire? Anyway, Dave.
Dave made her
Yeah,
would
well,
have
we
no
are.
matter.
And in this empire, you can see X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. We recently had an interview with Len Yulee, which is fantastic, by the way. Even if you don't know the name Len Yulee, you know his work. He worked on all the shit we loved in the 90s. All the cartoons. He
All
was
the X-Goons
co-creator of
love
the
it.
character Bonkers. He co-created Bonkers. Yeah, man, Bonkers. Yeah, totally nuts.
X
Yeah,
Goons.
you know,
There's a special contest. You should go on Facebook and sign up
Yes.
for it.
Yep. We want to hear your wildest, craziest, most intriguing prediction for X-Men 97. And the winner will get the book that
Something
is here somewhere. There it is. One sec.
Just in the depths
Lady
of this
Sherlock.
cavern.
Lady Sherlock and the Circle of the Smiling Dead by former guest of the show, Brooks Wachtel. Haven't read it yet because I'm a slow reader, but I'm gonna. Probably that's what I'll read when I'm sitting waiting for the baby to be born at the hospital. Last time I was waiting for a baby to be born, I read Powers of X or Dawn of X and Powers of 10. Great comics. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, check that out, and we have an interview coming up soon with the voice of Cable, Lawrence Bain. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
And, we're coming to a close on season 4, and we have Marvel comic artist Adam Gorham joining us for our season finale. Not an interview; he's just joining us for the show, much like Marvel comics artist David Cutler often does, and he might be joining us next week. Actually, depends on scheduling. And also check out my co-host there, Andres. Graphic Histories podcast. That's a great. He does great interviews. Like,
He does.
Dude can interview. That's why he takes point on our X-rated interviews, and I just throw weird questions at the guests sometimes. Check out Super Mater Brothers, where it's mostly Jaemeel. I think we should probably change the name of Super Mater Brothers to like
Super
I don't know.
Jaemeel
What do you want to call
Brothers.
it, Jaemeel? It's all you. What do you want to call it?
Look, I'm very reluctant to taking ownership of any podcast nowadays. So
fair enough. The true currency is coming back.
I keep saying that it's coming out. It's Duke Nukem Forever.
Eventually, KBBL's gone. Sorry, Sam.
But it's
Maybe
okay.
It'll return one
Even
day,
though KBBL is not currently going, you still have a wealth of content that you can go and.
Would you call that a wealth? Is that a wealth?
Yeah. Like you could literally go back and just like look. In my opinion, Disney should just repackage the DVDs with KBBL.
Oh,
in my opinion,
I agree with that statement.
You could just do that.
You're my greatest supporter, Jaemeel. I love you. Aiming on Track. Check that out. I've been on. Murphy's been on. Jameel's going on.
Eventually.
Apparently, I'm coming on again, and I have to listen to Green Day. So I have
Oh wow!
Sorry.
If it's Green Day and it's not Dookie, it ain't for me.
What is he doing?
Though Dookie, fantastic.
Which one is he doing again for Green Day?
Insomniac.
Oh.
I don't even know what one that was. Is that the one with Geek Stink Breath on it?
I don't even know.
Well, I don't know.
Listen, I showed that kid the best album on earth. It don't matter anymore.
No, you didn't. I did. I showed him the greatest musician ever friggin' born.
Proto Men,
Robert
Act
Johnson.
2, Father of Death. Go check it out. Best album ever.
You're so young.
Davin's just trying
So
to hold
young.
it. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Trivial debates. I don't know what the next one's gonna be.
Dave is trying to figure things out for it. So, very simple premise: one guest host,
the last one?
3 guest debaters, and they debate on a subject. Hilarity ensues.
Yeah,
Hilarity often ensues. Hellbound podcast.
Alec Blackburn and Michael Chan.
A horror movie podcast.
A cross pond affair, you might call it.
Yeah.
And we also have a myriad and sundry Star Trek podcasts.
The Mothership.
Long and podcasts. The Mothership
The
Connection.
blood veins of our federation.
Funktastic. We have Locutors of Trek. It's pretty great. We did Captain's Conference there recently.
I got so mad. I had to leave.
There's
I was watching the support, and I was
moments from that one. Actually, I gotta put up on TikTok.
Like, I felt like Janeway should have been an an S tier, but Dave convinced me with the fact that she just fucked off for 3 months, and, didn't talk to her crew. So, but yeah, other than that, I didn't really disagree with much. What made you
know
angry,
what I
Jaemeel?
disagree with? The fact that Data wasn't considered. Data should have been considered in that.
No, we made it clear no acting captains.
Oh, all right. Well,
Because
did
then,
he not?
the
No,
list
didn't
got
he?
rude.
Wasn't he raised as a captain?
No, he
at
was
some
just
point?
the acting captain of the Sutherland, and that's it. He
Yeah.
was never a captain.
Not even in a comic canon.
Look, you don't
They
want
didn't
to
really
try to
take from
convince
comic-
cousin Dave anything that's not on screen's canon. Look, I
Yeah.
tried to convince him that the Garrick novel is canon. That's not a war
Don't
I'm
talk
willing to
canon
fight.
with Dave. Dave is just
Look, he takes
Tried.
canon and uniforms very seriously.
we break down dresses on Big Brother that the host wears. I didn't like this dress.
I thought it was just
No.
Star Trek uniforms he was
No.
into. Wow.
He's a fashionista, it seems.
He is. Apparently so. We have Science Division. We just did a Debate 9 all 80s version. That was awesome.
I was
Check
watching that.
out.
Was really good.
Yeah, it was. The great debates. And they're so much more polite. And we had a little chat afterward, and they're just like, yeah, we let each other finish speaking. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not how we do things. That's not how the dudes do things. We just yell at each other till Jody or Murphy tells me to shut up.
Wrap it up.
That's how we do things.
We're about to push
all
4
right.
hours if we don't wrap this the fuck
Are
up.
we? Holy shit! This is by
Yes.
far the longest. You know what? We're having a good time here
Yeah.
on Hold Up a Movie podcast. Check out Look Cute as a Check. All right, I'm shutting her down. Final thoughts.
Check out next week's stuff.
Yeah, we got more movies coming. Listen, I want to say thank you for listening to this incredibly long podcast about heists and robberies and everything in between. We had a lot of fun. As always, I hope you had a lot of fun. And as always, enjoy the movies. We'll catch you on next episode where we talk about airplanes with Michael Henry. Here go the coming attractions for that. Until then, enjoy the movies.
Stand by for the most extraordinary chain of events ever swept up into high adventure.
Hey, Larry, where's the forklift? Forklift! It's over there for the baggage loader.
Airplane, good.
Airplane is drama.
This is Dr. Brody at the Mayo Clinic. There's a passenger on
Almost didn't pick it. I almost picked Airport 1979, but I watched it a couple years ago. So, and I've never actually seen Airplane all the way through.
Oh, it's perfect choice.
Airplane.
I haven't watched.
You never watched it?
Plus years. No, I've watched it, but it's been like at least 20 years since I watched it.
Great.
Airplane is romance.
Airport 1979, I think is the year, or maybe 1977. Good movie though. Check it out.
Airplane is music.
I love that shark shit. That's really
Airplane is dancing.
Let's go back and forth with that a million more times.
Never has
Where's
the
Leslie
screen
Nielsen?
been so big.
Yeah.
You ever been in a cockpit before?
There he is. No, where are they gonna film in this trailer?
Peter Graves.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
My name is Roger Murdoch. I'm an airline pilot.
Leslie Nielsen.
This woman has to be got
There
to
he
a
is.
hospital.
A hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
Lloyd Bridges.
Man, no one does deadpan, dry delivery of comedy like Leslie Nielsen.
For a brooch, for pterodactyl, could you your uncle?
Robert Stack.
All right, Steve, let's face a few facts.
And we hope you enjoy the rest
I
Night
need
on
to-
Unsolved Mysteries.
By the way, is
I need to
anyone on board
take
who
that
knows how
clip
to fly a plane?
of the glasses.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Robert Hayes.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley. Yeah, that's the classic one.
Please, let me handle this.
It's that friggin' female hysteria you hear about.
That's great.
This
only one that
trailer's
could
funny.
match-
This is gonna be a great movie.
The only ones that could match Leslie Nielsen in dry wit humor is like Carrie. Was it Carrie
The
Gaines?
most
I think.
incredible adventure the screen has ever created.
And Lloyd Bridges.
The big news is
Lloyd Bridges is in this. He's not dry ever.
George Gaines. Yeah, George Gaines from Police Academy.
Oh, okay.
Who was he in Police Academy?
He was like the constable.
Change America's policy. Atrocity
Many, many.
political weapons. And to those who would use them.
Air Force One.
Yeah, Michael Henry picked Air Force One.
He was gonna pick Top Gun, but Davan vetoed it.
What are the risks involved in
You should have picked Hot Shots.
They hated your speech.
No, this is about airplanes, not fighter plane jets. That's a different thing. That's a different.
Fair enough.
theme.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna pick Top Gun, pick Hot Shots instead.
Oh yeah, agreed. We'll take a train to Hawaii afterwards.
The president's plane, Air Force One, has been hijacked.
I used to like this movie. I've watched this like a bunch of times on TMN back in the day. Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman.
Toronto airborne scenarios.
But they got buddy from Quantum Leap as well.
Yeah.
Scott Bakula?
No,
not Scott Bakula.
How the hell did this happen?
Dean Stockwell.
Yeah, Dean Stockwell.
Your national security advisor has been executed.
He just bought you another half hour.
Sir, just bought you another half. I'm down for Russian Gary Oldman.
You know who I am? I'm the President of the United States.
He can do anything.
Jim isn't making this decision as a president. He's making it as a husband and a father.
Cousin Dave would love this movie. It makes the President of the United States look like a superhero.
That's absolutely what I was thinking.
He has no right to take Jim's
But he needs the sweeping, like, there needs to be sweeping, like, music.
We cannot give it.
Yeah, somebody needs to faint just because he's there.
He's so proud, Mr. President, that you stuck with us.
Dean Stockwell needs to pull it Ziggy at some point.
Like, the entire passengers get brave because the president does a rousing
We're
speech.
tracking 6 MiGs. I'm sending in our F-15s to
And then
protect
they
you.
dance slowly.
In a war, people die.
It's funny, we said goodbye to the audience and then just chatted over these trailers for another 15 minutes.
It always kind of happens.
Yeah, it does.
It's part of the show now. It's like the post-credits extras.
Yeah, it's true.
Think Die Hard on Air Force One.
Get off my plane. You know what I confuse this movie with sometimes too? Executive Decision. Remember that one?
Executive Decision,
That,
yeah.
That's also on a plane.
That's what Steven Seagal. Wait, what?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
That movie makes the most incredible movie decision of all time, which is kill Steven Seagal in the first 2 minutes.
Yes. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is this movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a Ghibli film.
Yeah.
And it is about
Let
airplanes.
me watch some anime, Murphy.
A little anime before we get an anime.
We do have an anime episode coming up. That's next season, maybe? No, that's this season.
Wow, we're doing some Ghibli. Wow.
Am I gonna hate this, Jaemeel?
I don't think. I think that you'll appreciate the animation and the storytelling.
Okay.
At the very least.
Good, because usually the animation in anime is what I don't like, because everyone looks 8 or 12 at the oldest. Yeah, like all these 12-year-olds, why are they working in a workshop? It doesn't make any sense.
let's go to Asia and look at who's working in the workshops.
Yeah.
Yes, so. Okay.
The Wind Rises, a Studio Ghibli.
We'll give it a shot.
Ask your cinema for details.
It's gotta be better than Tokyo Godfathers. Well,